Welcome to the Little Things You Hear Together, where we dive deep into Broadway cast albums to figure out why some hit harder than others. I'm Alex Asp, and my guest today is Kayla Burfeind. Welcome back for a real episode this time.
I'm so excited to get the full experience.
Yes, and you'll get to do the scoring and all that fun stuff, although if it's an album you like, that sometimes is hard, but...
I've tried to be objective, and I know I have failed.
Well, we'll do what we can. That's all we can do. I'm very happy that we're going to be talking about the 2016 original Broadway cast album for Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812. And yes, that's probably the only time I'll say the full name. It's a long name. Interesting branding choice, but...
They've made a lot of very interesting choices with this show that I can understand how they wouldn't appeal to everyone, and they very much appeal to me.
Yeah, and we'll get to those certainly as we go through this. What is your relationship with this show and the album specifically?
So, for the show, I was first introduced to a slightly less than legal recording of the Off-Broadway version and instantly hooked. And I tried to plan a trip to go see it when it was at ART, and that didn't work out. And then I wanted to see it on Broadway, and that didn't work out because it was not super long-lived, just about a year.
Yeah.
But when the recording came out, I just was so thrilled to have a high-quality version of it because it is sung through. You get so much of it there, and because I was so familiar with the stage and the aesthetics, I was able to fill it in my mind. So, big fan of the recording and a huge fan of the show. I referred to it as my White Whale musical because it took me 12 years to actually see it live, but have finally seen it live, and it had just reawakened my love for the show and for the music.
I love it. This is not a show that I've been particularly up on. I respect a lot of things about it, as we'll talk about. I am not the target audience for this, so it is not one that I ever dug into really until this podcast. I did see it recently when there was a local production, which I'm guessing is the one that you saw as well,
Yes.
at Theater Elysian.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed seeing it. Like, I think it's a really great show. It's so much fun. I just don't like the album because of the style it's going for, and I totally get it, and I respect it. I just don't love it.
I think there's a handful of songs that are so fantastic on their own. And there are some songs that even in preparation for this, I'm like, I just don't like listening to this song.
Well, only a few of them are really songs, or arias as Dave Malloy sometimes calls them, because this really is structured as a Russian electro-pop rock opera.
Electropop Russian folk opera.
Yeah, so it's a very unique sound, and it is structured like an opera, which is also part of what I'm not the biggest opera fan, so that style is true to form, but it's a form I don't love.
Yeah, they definitely took some big swings with it, and it's a show that I'm so passionate about and in love with, but I completely understand how it's not for everyone. It just happens to check all the boxes for me.
Yeah, and we love that. It's a very weird concept for a show because it's based on War and Peace, but only a very tiny sliver of War and Peace because it's quite a long book, as some people might know. And so we're really considering that we're getting just a tiny sliver of a giant book, it is amazing how much we are getting a self-contained bit of story here. And I think he pulled some things in from other parts of the book to make things a little bit more...
To round it out.
Yeah, a little bit more continuity. So that helps too. But it's definitely one of those, you get the elevator pitch and you're like, you did what now?
I've had friends who have tried to get into the show, and they're like, how are you into this? I'm like, well, listen to this handful of songs and you'll get it.
Yeah. I definitely did find some songs that I like a lot more as we go through. This, I kind of mentioned it before, this is music, lyrics, orchestrations, book, all by Dave Malloy. This is his baby. And this started in 2012, I think, was the first Off-Broadway. And then it had a long journey of getting, all the way to Broadway in the later part of the decade. But he then has gone on to do many more shows, all of which are weird in some way. And honestly, a lot of them I have liked a lot more than Great Comet.
I could see how those ones would appeal to you more than this one. But yeah, he's such a creative guy, and really everything I've listened to since Great Comet, I can see the through line, but they're not the same.
Yeah. Although there are a lot of same performers that keep coming back, as tends to happen in this situation, composers and singers really gravitate toward each other. So
He's found his people.
It's fun to see the same names on different cast albums, especially if you like their voices. So this is an interesting show as well for a completely random reason. On Genius.com, where I was looking at the lyrics, there are annotations from Dave Malloy that are verified as his, and I've never seen anything like that before. So as we go through, I pulled out some of the more interesting tidbits from that, and I know you, as a bigger fan of the show, have lots of tidbits as well.
Sure do. Sure do. And yeah, I've the annotated copy of the script, so I've got a lot of his little tidbits, and I'm sure there's some overlap between the stuff we gathered. But
Yeah.
yeah, Dave Malloy, the way that man's brain works is fascinating.
Yeah. This is also interesting in that a lot of these lyrics are lifted directly from a specific translation of War and Peace. So there's not a lot of rhyming throughout this show, which is always potentially a thorn for me. Not always, but sometimes. And I think that's part of it's recitative that's not rhyming and it's not incredibly structured, which completely makes sense artistically. It's just not engaging for me.
I can see how that would be a piece where it doesn't quite fit. And I feel like with this show, so many of the pieces, the way I view it, they shouldn't fit together, but for me, they absolutely do. And like with lacking the rhyme scheme of really just kind of going a bit off the walls, like in trying to sell people on shows, I always talk about like ones that I love that I think people will like, and they hear me talk about this one, they're like, oh, so I would like that one too. I was like, yeah, probably not.
Yeah, maybe not quite the same thing. The bigger issue that I have with pulling words from the book directly in is it makes for some very awkward scansion throughout as you're trying to fit way too many syllables in too small space, which again just takes me out of it. And I'll bring out some of those as we go through, but in general, that's just a theme I noticed that I don't love.
And you can tell the songs where it is pulled more directly because I think there's a line of delineation of the shows that, or the songs that were written for the show versus the songs that were written from War and Peace.
Yeah. And I think I was reading one of the annotations. He, in the very beginning, was only pulling things from War and Peace. And there's like, this thing isn't working. Could you just rework it? And he's like, oh, I hadn't thought about that I can actually write in the style of that myself. Of course, sure, I can do that.
And I do know my favorite song in the entire show. It was the last one added.
Yeah.
So I think that probably has the least to do with direct from the source material.
Yeah, indeed. It is interesting. This is our second Russian musical of the season after Anastasia, both of which contain an opera. I don't know why. These parallels are coming up. I guess there's so many shows this season that they're bound to happen.
Yeah, when you showed the full lineup, I was like, wow, that was a year.
A lot.
And I suppose it was right in the wake of Hamilton, so a lot of shows closed quickly because people didn't want to see Broadway. They wanted to see Hamilton.
And they couldn't get tickets to that, so, I didn't like that. Yeah, if you were hoping for Hamilton, you're probably not going to like Amelie.
No, not so much. But they tried advertising it as, come see Philippa Sue. She was in Hamilton.
Mm-hmm. And I love her. But that's a different episode.
Yep.
It is very interesting to me. Part of this cast is, or part of this album is just this cast is so unique. And for most of these actors, of the principal actors at least, this is either their only Broadway credit or their only time on Broadway not as a replacement. Like even Danae Benton, for all that she's done, this is her only time originating a role. She replaced as Cinderella in Into the Woods, and I saw her do it at Encores, but actually, quote unquote, Broadway. You know, Josh Groban has Sweeney later. Mm-hmm. Grace McLean has a couple things later, but most of them
Amber Gray.
Amber Gray is kind of the biggest one to spill out and become a bigger star in the Broadway sphere in general. But yeah, a lot of them, even though they're so talented, they are clearly not of the Broadway mindset, which is what I'm guessing attracted him to them, or vice versa.
I think a lot of them, especially the people who have come up in a lot of Dave Malloy's work, come from that kind of experimental area, or people like Britton Ashford who were independent singers previously, and acting wasn't necessarily at the forefront. And yeah, I think it makes for an interesting juxtaposition when you have the leads with Josh Groban and like Carnegie Mellon trained Danae Benton, and then you have these other folks, and I think it makes for a really interesting dynamic. And again, it is disjointed, but I think it works well, but again, can understand how other people may not appreciate that like I do.
Yeah, I think it's also helpful on the album, as especially with repeated listenings, there are such different vocal types from all the actors that it does assist you in telling who is singing at any given time, because Danae Benton sounds nothing like Amber Gray, sounds nothing like Britton Ashford, sounds nothing like Kelsey Bell. Like, they are all so distinct from each other, which is very helpful.
I hadn't thought about that angle, but there have definitely been the cast recordings I've listened to where, like, say the second female lead understudies the main female lead, so they're hard to differentiate the voices from. And yeah, that is not an issue on this album.
Not at all. Well, I mean, we've been kind of dancing around it. Let's just dive into the tracks, shall we?
For sure.
There's a war going on out there somewhere, and Andre isn't here. There's a war going on out there somewhere, and Andre isn't here.
So first up is the prologue, which is probably the most famous song from this show if people are going to know one thing.
It's definitely recognizable, and I think about like the Good Morning America performance they did this. I do think it is perhaps one of the more approachable songs in the show.
Yeah.
And again, I can understand how people would take issue with the structure of it, but
Ignore the barking.
but in reading Dave Malloy's comments on it, I appreciate the fact that he structured it after like a preschool song with the repetition to get people to remember a lot of information very quickly and differentiating them. And it's simple and straightforward, but effective. And I think that structure lends itself a lot better to a show like this versus trying to like work in introductions more organically. That wouldn't have worked in a piece like this.
And nothing about this is organic. It's not trying to be, it's weird. Like the set for Broadway is crazy. Like I can't think of anything like it, where they built the set into the audience but kept the audience around them, so they're sitting with the audience at different points, and there's no pretense of, oh, there's a stage up there and I'm here. It's so different that there's no reason to save that kind of structure. So it definitely works to help get you into the headspace of, okay, we're starting with Natasha. She's kind of the main figure we need to keep an eye on, so we'll repeat her every time. And then we kind of expand outward from there until we get to the minor characters. And the more you hear somebody repeated, the more important they are to the story. Except for Pierre, who then we just go straight into his song. So we don't need to repeat him here because we're going to get to him in a minute.
This is all in your program. You are at the opera. Gonna have to study up a little bit if you want to keep with the plot. Cause it's a complicated Russian novel. Everyone's got 9 different names. So look it up in your program. We'd appreciate it, thanks a lot. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da.
I also like that setup of how it introduces everyone, but Pierre is separate, because that's kind of Pierre's whole thing, especially in the first act, is he is this loner who has kind of separated himself from society. So I feel like leaving him out of the song makes sense, because that still draws that line of he's important, but he is not a part of all of this.
Yeah. And it's more helpful visually to have this style going on because you see them step up and take their spotlight each time. So you're also getting the visual of who's who. You don't get that on the album. And unfortunately, after their first little bit, the repetition is the ensemble. So you're not getting the individual voices repeated. So it's helpful for knowing who the characters are, but not for associating the voice with the character.
Yeah, I could see how that would be an issue. And I'm trying to think back to when I didn't have the context for it. But yeah, mentioning that, I could see how connecting the voice would be more difficult. But I also feel like it gives the context clues. So it's like, oh,
You at least have names and some semblance of, like if you're on your own and this is all you have, you could study it and, okay, this is Anatole, so his sounds like this here. So when it's over here, it sounds like that. That's Anatole. Okay. Like if you studied it, you could get all that without needing to see the show.
Or even Anatole's descriptor, because in the song, everyone basically gets an adjective. And Anatole's is that he's hot.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, this dude sounds cocky. That's probably Anatole.
Yeah, so it's very helpful in that. So as we mentioned, the theater environment is very much a big part of this show. And obviously we can't get that on the album. But we do get a bit of a reference to it here, which is helpful in setting the mood in the score alone.
Chandeliers and caviar, the war can't touch us here. Minor characters.
It's very clear that we're dealing with out-of-touch aristocrats who are not concerned about the war because they're fine, and we're fine here, so we're just going to party and screw it all.
Yeah, it definitely sets that up, because the war is definitely an active part of it.
And that's why Andre isn't here.
Exactly. That's why Andre isn't here. And that is important while it's not constantly there. it is good at setting that up of like, hey, we're actively ignoring what's going on, even though it is clearly affecting Natasha and Sonia. But yeah, we're just going to ignore that because we have money and caviar.
Yeah. And from a storytelling perspective, that makes sense. We don't need to complicate things with the war because the only thing that the war has to do with our story is that it is the reason Andre's not here. But that could be anything, so it doesn't really factor into our ability to understand what's going on in the show. So I think it is smart we're already trying to tackle a lot here. Everybody's got 9 different names. Let's keep it as focused as we can for the sake of not getting totally lost.
Mm-hmm. And even with setting up I enjoy that line, the chandeliers and caviar, because so much of this production was really immersive. From the second you entered the theater, you were clearly in this world. They had like Soviet propaganda posters in the hallway leading into the auditorium. So I appreciate that there's like a nod to entering this world within the music as well, beyond just the picture that's being painted. But I think this show doesn't do subtlety.
Yeah. This show ran so that the Kit Kat Club Cabaret Revival could walk briskly.
Yeah, definitely some inspiration taken there.
But I think they should get a bit farther with Comet than they did in Cabaret. But that's not important.
Melania is fun, Volkansky is crazy, Mary is plain, Dolokhov is fierce, Elaine is a slut, Anatole is hot, Mario's old, Sonia is good, Natasha is young, and Andre is in here. And what about Pierre? Dear bewildered and awkward Pierre.
So as we mentioned before, at the end, once they've gone through everybody else, the ending line is, "What about Pierre?" And we go directly into the song Pierre with no real transition. Mm-hmm. So you would just think they're one song. And it's nice because we get to hear Josh Groban, which I always love.
Big Josh Groban fan, and listening to the previous recording, because the original cast had a recording prior to the Broadway cast recording, and I don't think Dave Malloy was on the recording.
I think it is him.
It is him on the recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like it nearly as much when
Yeah.
it's him singing.
Yeah, Josh Groban, I mean, sometimes stunt casting is a terrible idea, and he kind of walks that line where, is it even stunt casting? But
Well, in hindsight, it wasn't. But at the time, this was his first Broadway show, first time acting on a major stage, both literally and figuratively. So he was an unknown quantity. And we know now, yes, he was a big theater kid. He had lots of theater experience before he got famous as a singer.
he started at Carnegie Mellon in their musical theater program.
Yeah, so he's not coming into this cold, but we didn't know that, at least we didn't know the extent of it at the time. Mm-hmm. So it may have seemed like stunt casting, not helped by the hijinks that came when he was replaced, but we won't get into that too much.
That's a whole thing.
Yeah, but I think he has shown more that he is an actual musical theater threat, and I hope we keep seeing more from him.
And clearly with the rest of the cast, I mean, so many of the leads, again, their acting resume wasn't necessarily huge, but singing was their primary thing. And yeah, I think they knocked it out of the park with that. And I love his voice, and I was reminded of it listening to it in preparation for this.
Mm-hmm. The track has basically no rhyming whatsoever, but it doesn't bother me as much here. This is one example where it doesn't feel artificial. It just feels like a train of thought. And maybe that's just because Josh Groban is singing it, and I love that. It's also, there's a good amount of this where the ensemble is singing, and I think non-rhyming, to me, for some reason, feels less weird if it's a group of people, because my brain can say automatically, this is not being improvised. They planned this way. Versus when it's one person, even when I know it's not, I think part of my brain responds with, are they just making this up and that's why it's not rhyming?
I could see where you're coming from with that.
I'm guessing that's why it works better for me as an ensemble than individuals, but I have no idea. It's just a weird thing I noticed with this, that anytime it's the ensemble not rhyming, it was less noticeable to me.
Oh, Pierre, our merry feasting crank, our most dear, most kind, most smart and eccentric, warm-hearted Russian of the old school. His purse is always empty, 'cause it's open to all. Oh, Pierre, just one of 100 sad old men living out their final days in Moscow.
I'm wondering if this song also may resonate with you a bit more because it follows more of a traditional musical theater structure. And it is
To some extent.
yeah, to some no part of this is pure classic musical theater, but especially in comparison to the opening number, I feel like it is a lot closer to traditional musical theater. And again, with the layers of the ensemble singing, and I just think the piano part is so beautiful, and I think it kind of sets up the motif of Pierre's got a lot going on. They're like, oh, he's this loner, and the lyrics are saying one thing, but I feel like the music is portraying that there's a lot more going on there.
Yeah. We're getting information about the world as well as Pierre specifically. And it's definitely a more comforting musical style talking about Pierre, and then very jarring when they shift, because it talks about how all the women pity him because he's married but not in love. And then we very quickly shift into a different meter, different melody, different style of accompaniment. Everything's different. It's the women singing, not him. And then we just as immediately shift back into what we were in before.
And the women, they all pity me, 'cause I'm married, but not in love. Frozen at the center.
Il est charmant, il n'a pas de sexe. He's charming, he has no sex. Oh, Pierre, our merry feasting crank.
So it's kind of throwing off kilter, and I think that's intentional. But it's that's the one where I'm like, yeah, this is definitely not all conventional musical theater. We're still going for a little bit of a weird factor.
I do appreciate that the melodic theme that the women sing in that part is brought up again in the next track in Moscow. That melodic theme is revisited, so I appreciate that. Well, so many of the track-to-track changes in this are very jarring. There are little bits like that that help to kind of create that through line.
And there are a ton of things throughout this show where very small bits of melody or theme are repeated for different reasons. It'll be the same melody in a similar wording, but in wildly different contexts. Things like that. Mm-hmm. That as you get to know the score better, I'm sure those stand out to you more. I only noticed some because I'm not as familiar. But again, there's so many things about this show that I should love. And I don't know why it doesn't quite gel for me.
And I'm on the exact opposite that. When I take a step back, I'm like, I probably shouldn't love this show, but I very much do.
Yeah. Actually, a few things from this track get stuck in my head, but the one that gets stuck in my head the most in this last week is the pitying section.
Or do you struggle too? I pity you, I pity me, I pity you. I pity you, I pity me, I pity you.
And it's a little bit repetitive, both melodically and lyrically, and it's very effective, so I'll just have that on a loop in my head, and I'm like, God damn it. It's like 10 seconds of music, and that's not a long loop to have stuck going on over and over.
I'll get to this later, but I think for the last, 14 years, 12 years, I've had Sonia Alone stuck in my head. That just lives in my head constantly.
Yeah, there are definitely several of those earworms throughout this. The next track then is Moscow. And this is the first part where I'm really not digging what's going on.
Maria Dmitrievna Akrosimova, Countess Natalia Ilinichna Rostova. You must call me Natasha.
Like through the prologue, this is a little funky, but it's not that weird. Pierre has some strange elements, but overall, like we talked about, is a little bit more familiar in some ways in structure. But in this song, I just feel like I'm being swirled around and can't keep my bearings, and not in an intentional way, but just in I feel like being chaotic way, not thematically keeping you off balance.
So Mushka, bonjour, and Natasha, my darling, grown plumper and prettier. My cheeks are glowing from the cold, she said, gazing at Maria with kind, glittering eyes. Welcome to Moscow, scruffy and cozy like an old dressing gown.
I can see that, but the way I view it in my head is it's emulating what Sonia and Natasha are going through when first exposed to this society world of Moscow, where they're very thrown off kilter because they're having so much thrown at them at once that it just is that swirling feeling around them of taking it all in and we're first introduced to the character of Maria, and she's such a juxtaposition from how Sonia and Natasha are, that I feel like that off-kilter feeling can arise from that as well.
Yeah, logically that makes sense, but nothing about the lyrics indicate anything about them, not even a hint that they're feeling uneasy. Because this is, Maria is Natasha's godmother, and Sonia and Natasha are cousins. So they're not like strangers, and one could presume that they would have visited at some point in the past, even though now she's come to live there for a bit. So maybe you're correct, but it still did not make me feel more appreciative of that fact.
Yeah, and admittedly, this is not one of the songs that makes my kind of playlist of highlights of this show, but I see how it functions within the context and can appreciate it, and I do not knock anyone who does not appreciate it.
One interesting thing in this is, as we're getting this kind of swirling around, wildly shifting in tone of music, in tone of lyrics, and then we get this random "I will touch you on the cheek" with this little arpeggio that is very classical musical, not musical theater, but like opera type of convention.
My goddaughter, my favorite Natasha, I will touch you on the cheek.
And it really feels like, why are we all of a sudden doing this and emphasizing, because it's so different, it emphasizes that phrase, "I will touch you on the cheek." And I'm like, is that really the most interesting thing that you want me to be taking away from this? Because now that's all I'm remembering. But I do get it. Like, it is the reminder that this is the aristocracy, and in some ways it is still familiar to what we, if you don't have any prior experience with the Russian aristocracy, it was, especially around this time, heavily influenced by France. So there's going to be a lot of overlap in those kind of customs. So logically I can see that. But it just, again, took me out of it. I'm like, why is this the phrase that I'm remembering? But at least we get to hear from Danae Benton in this song. She's one of those just perfect musical theater sopranos, where it's not the giant operatic soprano or even the operetta lighter but still more formal sounding. It's the Philippa Sue, it's the Liz Calloway, it's that voice that's just so pure and gorgeous.
But I can't bear this waiting. I cry and I cry. Andre, where are you? I want him now at once, to embrace him and cling to him. No one can understand.
Yeah, pure is exactly how I would describe it, and I think it so perfectly cast with that pure sound to her voice and also her being this young, naive character. I feel like if it was a more operatic type of voice, it wouldn't sell that same emotion. So I just love that she was cast in this, and I am a big fan of hers.
Yeah. It's no surprise that she and Philippa Sue have shared roles on multiple occasions.
Multiple
with this,
occasions.
with Into the Woods, they have a very similar voice type, and
they both played Eliza and Hamilton.
It's amazing. Yeah, like they just sound, they fill that same niche. If you're looking for a specific voice, they both have it. Yeah, and they're both so perfect.
Oh, absolutely. My first introduction to Danae Benton was she played Nabelungi in the Book of Mormon on tour, and I remember seeing her and being like, "Oh, that's how it's supposed to be done."
Interesting.
And she sells that innocence a lot more than, I mean, I've seen several people in that role, and it's not like I've seen a bad performance, but she just, the way
it's a very different kind of characterization to go with a voice like that. Interesting.
Yeah, just phenomenal. Big fan of hers, and I mean, not that this is reflected in the album, but also the most gorgeous person I've ever seen in real life.
Yes, I remember I didn't really know anything about her when I saw Into the Woods at Encores. I'm like, who is this? God damn. Like, she is just, and I'm sure she's just a wonderful person. I don't know that.
I interacted with her for about a minute and a half at an opening night party. And
so fancy.
Yeah, she was incredibly sweet. And yeah, the entire time I'm like, my soul just left my body.
Will you marry me?
Yeah, like.
Ugh. Even with her, though, like I said before, a lot of these recitative sections here sound improvised, which I don't love. And then we also get in with this very different kind of narration style. that's not what is typically used in other shows. Like, it's not, it's very different from like Come From Away or Amelie, maybe a little bit similar to falsettos, just sticking with this season so far.
But with falsettos, it's more tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Where they're like, we know what we're doing is like, this isn't normal. Whereas with this, it is just the way they're telling the story, and it's not
they're
like
just constantly
with a wink.
shifting between dialogue and narration and secondhand narration, which is the weird thing to me. Like, I do this to you. I mean, it's very clear to us on the album what's happening, so that's good. But it's worse in a later song that it really rubs me the wrong way. But here we get a little bit of like the I blush happily. Okay, and we're just quoting War and Peace, so I get it. But it's sometimes it doesn't bother me, and sometimes it does.
Yeah, that's another piece of the show where I can understand how it's not for everyone. And I think I write it off more as part of like the total package. But when I do kind of zoom in on it, I'm also like, I don't necessarily love that. Like, I think it works because this show has set the expectation that it's odd, that it's a bit, I mean, stiff's the wrong word, but with the aristocracy, it's unnatural. So I feel like
And the
it
language
kind of
being used, taken from War and Peace, is going to be a little bit more, not quite archaic, but not contemporary feeling for sure.
Well, now we'll talk. I congratulate you and Andre, you've hooked a fine fellow, one of the finest matches in all of Russia. I am glad and relieved he'll be the family's saving grace.
I blush happily.
which again, it's not part of the recording, but I love the difference between having this very unnatural, archaic way of speaking, but the show had very, very modern elements in it. And again, could be discordant to some, but I just loved the kind of way that was presented.
Yeah. And, other things that are really different about this is we have a band, but we also have a lot of the actors periodically jumping in and taking over the piano or taking over the violin or the accordion. And I think the show begins with Josh Groban coming out playing the accordion. And the band is scattered throughout this giant weird set so that they can do that. So again, it's a very modern type of thing to do, and it feels like that, but you don't get that in the album. But I think, I think 6 of the actors are also playing instruments in this, which is so fun. Like visually on the, if you're seeing it on stage, that's so much fun. And I appreciate that. I don't know if it's like required if you're doing it regionally, but they did it at Theater Elysian.
I would imagine with Pierre, you would need Pierre to play the piano and the accordion, but I could see with other characters how it would be optional. But I mean, Anatole in everything that I've seen has played the violin, so I don't know if it's a requirement, but I would think with Pierre it needs to be.
Yeah.
But for the other characters, I think you could get away with not having them play the instruments.
Yeah. Next up is the best track on the album, The Private and Intimate Life of the House.
Even when I saw this live, did not care for it, and it was nothing to do with the actors. It's just not.
This is where my mind wanders.
Yeah. It's not a fun listen, and it's not meant to be a fun listen, and I don't think that it needs to be 5 minutes and 38 seconds long. I think this could have been a brief interlude and would have been as effective and wouldn't have taken me out of it at all. I think it could have been shortened quite a bit to get the point across about who the Bolkonskis are and how Mary is the miserable daughter and how Prince Bolkonsky's really crotchety.
I've aged so very much. I fall asleep at the table. My napkin drops to the floor.
Yeah, because this is... So Natasha is betrothed to Andre, who isn't here. And this is his family. And now that she's in Moscow, I think maybe it's in the track before or maybe it's in this one, but it's impolite to enter a family against the family's wishes. And so she's like trying to go over buddy with the family so that they'll like her and approve of her marrying Andre. And Bolkonsky, the older guy, who is the same actor that will then play Andre later,
And he did play him at the very beginning during prologue, but he leaves once they say Andre's gone.
Yeah. He's really unlikable, and that's the point. But he's not unlikable in an interesting way. So I'm just like, can we move on, please? Like, he's creepy, lecherous old man. We get it. Like you said, this doesn't need to be this long.
Yeah, I think this song is one of the biggest problems I do have with this show. And like you said, I don't need to like a character, but there's just no redeeming factors.
But they need to be
there.
compelling in some way.
Exactly. Yeah, I really felt nothing. And I think if anything, they could have expanded slightly more on Mary, because I think there was an opportunity there to give her a bit more characterization.
I can hurt you.
But I never, ever, ever, ever would. No, Father, I love you, Father.
Yeah, because throughout all of this, she is complaining about how she has no life because she has to take care of him, and nobody invites her anywhere because if she goes, he has to go, and nobody wants him around. So she's just stuck at home with this awful person all the time. And then she's groveling the yes, father, which also feels like it's trying to go for like a 1960s, 70s rock musical vibe.
Bring me my slippers.
Yes, Father, yes, Father.
Bring me my wine.
Yes, Father, yes, Father.
If you're not too busy fiddling with your incense and icons.
No, Father, no, Father.
Which, it's like, again, we're going all over the place from no style to, oh, we're imitating this other thing from before, and it's just weird.
Yeah, this song is not my favorite. And again, I understand why you need to convey that message, but I don't think this was the way it needed to be done.
Yeah. And Bolkonski is talking about marrying someone young himself, being very much Judge Turpin from Sweeney Todd. So there's also that, like, okay, well, we've seen this done more interesting in a different show.
And he's doing it just to spite Mary. Be like,
Yeah.
you won't even get my inheritance. I'll give it to some young harlot that I married.
Yeah. So for a large portion of the song, Kelsey Bell is singing in a lower register where I really like the quality of her voice. But then she starts going high, and it's, I think, intentionally unsteady because she's kind of freaking out. When she lets herself go high, it's because she's lost control.
And he draws her to him, and he kisses her hand, embraces her affectionately, and I flushed run out of the room.
Come back here, let an old man have his fun.
She's using you, Papa. What's your money, Papa?
But it's just, I don't love the quality of the voice that we're getting from that characterization. Because later, at the end of the song, she goes higher, but with more of a mixed sound, and because she's in more control, choosing to go up high. And I like that sound a lot better. So again, it's effective and it's intentional, but it's not enjoyable for me.
I would say that is a perfect summary of the song is intentional, but not enjoyable. And again, I don't think it's trying to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
His napkin drops to the floor, his shaking head sinks over his plate. He is old and feeble, and I dare to judge him. I disgust myself.
But to your point, it doesn't need to be this long.
Yeah, 5 minutes, 38 seconds, a bit much.
Bit much. So we'll go on then to Natasha and Bolkonski's. So Natasha now arrives, and one of the early things here, I definitely got a vibe when it's like my brother's love for her. It feels like it's out of Hair or something similar from that time period.
I could say that.
It's just very much of that style. And again, it's interesting that we're very quickly for a measure pulling that style out, but not exploring it more. So it's just like, I don't know. Is that intentional? I don't know.
Too fashionably dressed, frivolous and vain, her beauty, youth, and happiness. My brother's love for her, and my father.
I do not wish to see her.
It feels like it might be something that was created. I don't think Kelsey Bell originated, or at least at one point someone else stepped into the role, because I love the vocal quality of that moment, that I wonder if it was built more for that than necessarily serving the song, because I love
She
the
does sound
vocal
great.
moment.
Yeah. It works very well for her voice. And so this is Natasha arriving at the house, and she and Mary right away are not hitting it off.
And from the first glance, I do not like Princess Mary.
Yep. And so as they're kind of dancing around each other, we then get into this little section of constrained and strained. And it's so perfect. They're maintaining a half step interval with moving melodies. So it's so uncomfortable on the ear, but this is uncomfortable in a way that I am so excited by, because I know what it's doing, I know why it's there, and it's interesting. It's not just uncomfortable, it's doing something.
It builds the tension with purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Constrained and strained. Constrained and strained.
And I appreciate that moment as well, and just love like the context of the song and how there are those moments where they're being polite to each other and then they go into the kind of duel they're having in the subtext.
Yeah. And it's not anything new to have a discordant chord to show discordant relationships. But I think it's the duration that they stay doing that with moving notes, not just like they're singing and then they hit that one note and then they go back to separate things that go well together. It is a prolonged section of doing that. And I think that's what makes it more interesting to me, that we're not shying away from this. We're digging in even harder.
And I feel like it's setting up the fact that there is no resolution for those two, because I can think of times when the discordant note is hit and then it carries on and it speaks to the fact that that relationship will be mended down the road, whereas this ship has sailed.
Yeah. And as we're going along, Natasha, from the beginning, went into this assuming that everybody was going to love her, because everybody always does. And now, oh no, maybe everybody doesn't love me. And it's like, oh, I feel so bad for you.
It's so funny that she doesn't even go to there must be something wrong with me. It's they don't love me, there must be something wrong with them. I don't think Natasha at this point in the show kind of has that insight into herself that she might be the problem.
Does she ever?
Maybe
you
towards
could argue
the
at
end
the
of
end.
Act 2.
Debatable. We'll debate that when we get there, I guess. But as she's doing this contemplating, we go into No One Else. And this is the first song that I'm like, okay, I like this.
I figured
Because
that
it's
would be
much
the
more
case.
conventional musical theater. It's definitely giving like Hamilton vibes, especially with her voice being similar to Philippa Sue. And the opening accompaniment is just, it's so simple, but so melancholy. Like it's haunting, but it's so beautiful. And that's a hard thing to convey without being treacly sweet and showing your hand too much.
Yeah, without bashing someone over the head with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think came up as I was driving here, and I was like, this song belongs to like a woman in a beautiful dress on a balcony is how this song is meant to be. And it portrays that so effectively by kind of hitting those notes of having the melancholy, but still having that hope at the center of it.
Or walking slowly through a forest.
That as well.
That could work too.
Either way, the beautiful dress is not
The beautiful
negotiable.
dress is not negotiable. Absolutely not. There's a line,
We've done this all before. We were angels once. Don't you remember? Joy and life inside our souls, and nobody knows, just you and me. It's our secret.
she delivers that last line with such childlike innocence.
She has like a giggle to
yeah.
it.
And you're like, okay, I was mad at you for being annoying, and now, okay, fine, I get it. You're young and sweet, and you do mean well, and okay, fine, whatever. So we're kind of brought back to her side a little bit, even if we don't want to be.
And I think with the evolution of her character and how things evolve, once you realize the arc of the story and you go back and listen to it, you can kind of hear that she has this unrealistic expectation of love where she still has that idea that it is a fairy tale. And she's like, oh, this is my one true love. There's no one else. And it's so quickly turned on its head because she sees the next shiny thing. And so I think there's kind of that hidden message there of she's singing this beautiful song and it's so moving and you want to believe that she's that in love, but then realizing that she's kind of that in chemicals in her brain, not actually in love.
I feel like putting my arms around my knees and squeezing tight as possible and flying away.
Yeah, and it's never, I don't believe it's ever actually stated how old she is. They say Natasha is young, but we don't know how young. I believe I think I saw somewhere like from the book, she's like in her mid-teens. So she's definitely very young.
Yes.
And when you think of it that way, okay, yeah, she's going to be not thinking very clearly about things, whatever, sure. But it's sometimes hard to remember that when you have such a gorgeous voice singing that, and maybe it's just because I know I've listened to enough singers of musical theater and other, I'm like, yeah, this voice doesn't just happen. This is somebody who has talent and then trained it well. So I'm like, it automatically feels older to me because I know no one sounds that good at 15.
That is valid. I've seen enough high school theater shows of kids who go on to be so talented. But yeah, I mean, it's
You can see the bud there, but it's not been nurtured yet.
exactly. But I feel like even with all of her training, she does a good job of portraying that, especially with like that little like giggle of like, it's our secret.
Yeah.
And that, so while it's not a natural childlike, I do feel like she did what she could to convey the childlike.
Absolutely. But there's this line when she sings, "I'll never be this happy again." It is such a beautiful melody and it sounds so perfect with her. And I'm like, that's the haunting bit that keeps with me after that. And I'm just like, oh, I love it.
And your childlike eyes and your distant smile, I'll never be this happy again. You and I.
Yeah, it's a very evocative moment. And it's that moment where when I listen to things like this, I just kind of can't help but picture things in my head. And at that moment, I just envision like a swirl of like petals falling off of a tree around her.
Like I said, through the forest. Or I guess that could be a tree on a balcony.
Yeah.
They're rich.
They certainly are.
But after she has her little contemplative moment, the next track is the opera. And this is a long track that covers a lot of stuff.
There's a lot going on here, and I'm very curious to hear some of your thoughts on the meat of it.
Oh boy.
Because it's definitely one of those ones where I completely understand why it's not for everyone.
Yeah. So we start off with them all arriving at the opera. And it is interesting. Again, it's a very well done writing style to convey something very clearly without hitting you over the head. We're getting how self-conscious she is because she is so obsessed with everybody's looking at me, my bare arms, my bare shoulder, my bare arms. Like she keeps coming back to that because she's assuming that they're all thinking the worst of her maybe, or at the very least, just, was this the right dress to choose? Did I do something wrong? And I like the way that it's conveyed through the creative and smart use of repetition.
Looking in the glass, I see I am pretty, not a girl anymore. I've never felt like this before. Hundreds of eyes looking at my bare arms and neck, my bare arms and shoulders.
And I appreciate that it sets up how Anatole was able to kind of slither in there. Is he recognized that she was feeling those things and kind of capitalized on it?
I'm not sure he recognizes it. I think that's just how he always is.
That is probably valid as well. Yeah, Anatole is a character I will never relate to with just that.
Such a punchable character.
Very much so, but also I so appreciate how Lucas Steele did it without, like, it's over the top, but it's not like over the top. Where, I don't know, he walks that line pretty well where I could see how it'd be very easy to take Anatole to a place where there's no redemption. He kind of almost operates in like a Gaston type of role.
Who also gets no redemption.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, Anatole's not a good person.
No, is the worst. This song, so much recitative. I That's why you could predict I wouldn't like it. But we get the arrival of Helene. So yay, Amber Gray. Always good to listen to her.
Amber Gray.
So beautiful, what a charming young girl, so enchanting.
And we know that she's a slut from the prologue. That's her descriptor. But the ensemble is really hammering it home. Because she is Pierre's wife, even though they don't love each other. And
But she shows up with
is
Dolokhov.
she's Anatol's sister. And yeah, so she shows up with the guy that she's been banging, Dolokhov, and not being subtle at all, because she's like, what are you going to do about it? And it's just like, she's such a bitch. But Amber Gray does that character so well. She can play a bitch with the best of them.
Oh, absolutely. And I also appreciated, I didn't mention this in prologue, but Dave Malloy mentioned in his annotations that when he was saying that Helene is a slut, it's in the reclaimed form of the word. He's like, I'm not shaming Helene. She knows it. She owns it.
Yeah.
And she very much does in this scene where she really has nothing to hide and she's going to do what she wants. And
Yeah, it's definitely not the, oh no, my husband can never find out about this affair. It's, so what if he does?
yeah, what's he going to do about it?
Yeah, he's drunk. It doesn't matter. So everybody's arriving, taking their seats. Great. The opera starts. Really fucking weird.
It is bizarre and uncomfortable, but again, it's intentionally uncomfortable because it's highlighting the fact that like no one is enjoying this, but we're
These
all
vocalizations
pretending.
that are happening. It's like birds mating or something.
Gelsey Bell.
It's effective. It's effective. And yeah, throughout this, it starts off, we get a section that's dedicated to the opera music. And then it keeps going on while we're getting glimpses of the characters. And very much to your point, no one is there to listen to the opera or watch it because it's terrible. You're there to be seen. And so they're all letting their minds wander and drift around to different things. And we're just getting kind of strange left turns here and there to different characters, which isn't that weird because of the fact that it's they're all in the same place but not actually interacting with each other. So it makes sense that it's going to be kind of non sequiturs between them.
One moment I really appreciate is after kind of the bird mating section, there's the chanting section, which brings us to Natasha saying, I do not follow the opera. I can't even listen to the music.
Yeah, us too. I mean, honestly, this music is what I kind of expected from Paramore being a Cirque du Soleil show, like Josh and I talked about in that episode, the creepy clown vibes.
Yeah.
This is what I thought Paramore was going to be. Not at all. It's in this show.
Yeah. Again,
So it is in the season, just not in the album I thought it was going to be.
just a couple blocks down, different
Yeah.
theater.
And while they're going all around this, why does Natasha say, I'd tickle you all if I could?
Well, she says that
That's
she's
really out of
gone into
nowhere.
a trance. And I
But
think,
why does that make you want to tickle people?
I mean, I took it as like a trance of like feeling high and not being able to express like what you're experiencing. And I think it may also speak to her desire to be a part of everything that she's seeing, where she still kind of feels exterior to it. And I recognize I'm probably reading too much into that, but that's
You're giving them a lot of credit.
that's how I justify the scene. And again, I love this show too much to be objective.
Then there's a burst of cold air as the doors open. Anatole strolls in late and just doesn't care, walks down the aisle and goes to his seat. And when he enters, Natasha and Sonia narrate in this really creepy robotic way.
An exceptionally handsome man walked in with a confident yet courteous air.
And that is essentially it's setting up his leitmotif of sorts. Because whenever he is featured throughout the rest of the show, it's definitely got much more of an electronic influence. And that is effective to be, leitmotifs when used correctly are great. And it is so creepy the way that they do it in the best way. Like, it is conveying that emotion so clearly that they both see this guy and they're like, something's up with this guy, but they're just different sides of Sonia's not happy about it and Natasha's into it.
Natasha's very into it, and from the moment she sees him, Sonia understands that, oh, this is a bad guy.
Yeah. When they're doing that, though, I also do get Imogen Heap vibes, especially with the electronic stuff. So that might help make it a little bit more enjoyable for me, because I do love her.
Yeah, I could see that. And I also enjoy, obviously, it's Britton Ashford on the recording, but knowing that Ingrid Michaelson played that role for a time on Broadway, I like applying that to it as well. Well, a little different than Imogen Heap, but I feel like same umbrella.
She can still work with it, yeah. And yeah, throughout all this, we're getting the creepy opera music, but now layered in with the electronic of Anatole. And it's effective because that is still happening. We're just not paying attention to the opera. Like we weren't really before, and now even less so because there's a pretty boy to look at.
Yeah, obviously. That supersedes anything happening on stage.
And that's how I live my life.
We live our lives differently.
Okay. Well, maybe not on stage, but other things. I take my theater very seriously.
I am aware.
With rapturous faces, everyone was shouting, screaming and shouting.
So now, the inevitable, the next track is Natasha and Anatole, because they meet. Great. We have two hot young heteros flirting. I'm so excited for them.
I appreciate it just knowing, like, again, I think they both lean so far into their characters, where, again, he could be that over-the-top, just cocky, has complete control of the situation, and she just is immediately fawning, and she sells that so well.
Yeah, I hate it because it's done well.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying. Yeah, we get more of the kind of narrating at a character from another character in this.
And I never remove my smiling eyes from your face, your neck, your bare
This one doesn't bother me as much as later, especially because we're bringing back the bare arms to your point of maybe it is intentional or just a coincidence that he is praising her for the thing that she was self-conscious about before. But it's still noticeable for me. And when I'm already not locked in, and it's like another thing to pull me out a little bit.
Yeah, I think it works well. And again, I think it works well because of the way his character is with that over-the-top, cocky self-assuredness. I feel like he can sell the awkward speech pattern of like self-narration, because if anyone was going to actually self-narrate, it's someone who considers themselves to be the center of the universe.
He would definitely be that person who starts talking about himself in the third person. You're like, just shut up.
Oh, yes. Yeah, 100% very Anatole
That's
coded.
a good point, yeah.
It's all right, Natasha. I'm here. So near. Nothing between us.
After that, then, is the duel. So, the vibe is going to shift a bit here. Pierre comes back, yay, and he is encouraged by Anatole and Dolokhov to go out to the club with them.
And to give them money.
Well, of course. He keeps asking for 50 rubles the whole time. But we're definitely getting even more of a techno beat as they get to the club. And it's partly that we have Anatole, but also now it's really front and center because we're at the club. And the fact that that is, the same vibe as Anatole makes sense that he's going to be the party boy. And
He's kind of the king of this realm.
Yeah, that's why this is his leitmotif. So it makes sense, and I like that we get that kind of brought fully to the front here before it goes back to being more subtle.
Yeah, and I appreciate, again, with once you get into the scene at the club and it goes full techno and how it kind of feeds into that detachment of this upper class and just being fully separated from the real world. But I just very much appreciate how it fully dives into where it's going. It doesn't, again, the show is not subtle.
No, it is not. So I didn't scour the lyrics for this, but as far as what I noticed, I think this might be our first rhyming couplet of the show. Not sure of the significance of rhyming all of a sudden when we haven't been doing that, but it's kind of nice, I guess, a little bit familiar.
I almost wonder with the way that it reads if it comes from like, or is trying to sell it as like an old Russian saying or something like that.
Maybe.
If it's like a Russian folk song or saying, or I don't know, that's how it's always hit my ear.
Okay, I'll buy that. It's definitely, we're getting Pierre getting drunker, which is his thing anyway. But everybody's maybe not making the best decisions as they're imbibing with each other. And
Clubs aren't known for good decision making.
No. Dolokhov in particular is being very not subtle about his relationship with Helene.
Here's to the health of married women, and a smile lurks in the corner of my mouth. Here's to the health of married women and their lovers. Here's to the health of married women. Here's to the health of married women and their lovers.
Pierre gets pissed off, understandably, and challenges him to a duel.
And the one thing we know about Dolokhov at this point is that he's a very good shot.
So that's not a smart choice.
Not at all. And I mean, immediately all of the characters react to it as such. Like Helene's like, oh, you're an idiot.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Although, ironically, Dolokhov is the one that misses and Pierre succeeds. Not killing, but hitting. Mm-hmm. And a sound design thing here, their sound designer mixing, the drums are going so heavy at the start of the duel that it's really hard to recognize that Pierre shot because it just sounds like another one of the drum beats. Versus when Dolokhov shoots, a little bit later, it's very clear that that's what's happening. So I think you can pick it up, but if you're just casually listening, it's just going to sound like a drum beat.
Pierre, hold your fire. Pierre, hold your fire. Pierre, not yet.
And that's a tiny sound mixing thing, but I don't know. I wish it was a little bit having that kind of a audio effect on the album to help us get into the show is lessened when you don't hear the effect very well.
That's true. I had not considered that. But yeah, I suppose that would be...
Because it would have been a choice to include the gunshot. Because you don't always include that kind of thing on an album.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did like in the annotations, he mentioned that they initially had a riff to reference the 10 Dual Commandments from Hamilton, and then decided, this is a little over the top. Take that out.
Yeah, bit much there.
But it makes sense because there are a lot of things in this that do feel like Hamilton-esque vibes, but in a very different way.
It's like Hamilton's evil cousin.
The weird, freaky cousin.
Yeah, the one that we don't talk to often.
That licks rocks and...
Very that.
So after Pierre shoots Dolokhov, which I still don't know how he hit and Dolokhov missed, but...
A broken clock is right twice a day. A drunk man can probably hit something sometimes.
Yeah. And I guess Pierre hit Dolokhov first, so that might have thrown him off his game a little bit.
Yeah, I would imagine after you get shot, your adrenaline is pumping and your precision is
Easy
probably
to be
not
as steady.
Yeah.
And the next track is Dust and Ashes, and this was added for Broadway.
Written for Josh Groban, and you can tell.
All the things I could have been, but I never had the nerve. Life and love I don't deserve. So all right, I've had my time. Close my eyes, let the death bells chime.
And again, this was written with the idea that it's in the flash moment between the gunshot and when we find out what happens. And then like, oh, that literally is just from Hamilton. Okay, never mind. We're not going to do it that way. Yeah. But some of the way the lyrics are, you can kind of tell that that's how it was intended when they wrote it.
You can very much tell that. I think Dust and Ashes for my money is one of the probably top 5 I want musical theater songs. We're really laying out what Pierre needs to get out of this evening, where kind of the life flashes before your eyes moment of, oh, wait, I'm married to a woman I don't love. I've never experienced true love. I should work on that.
Yeah. And throughout this, with him being more reflective, and again, to your point earlier of this is least like the words being pulled from War and Peace, there's a lot more rhyming throughout this song.
Yep.
And it's interesting, Pierre singing about, is this how I die? Which is, like I said, it was supposed to be before we find out if he died or not, but we know he survived. So it's like, why are you asking it that way now?
I feel like it also works in like a reflective way of like, oh my God, is this how I was supposed to die or something like that? I feel like in that moment, a near-death experience, your head is swirling so much that maybe the tense of the question you're asking may not align.
Sure, we'll go with that. The sentiment that he is talking about is that we're asleep till we fall in love, but he's still asleep, so that's sad because that means he's unhappily married and has been unable to find love. And I think this is one of the more quotable things from War and Peace in general. So it makes sense to kind of expand it into its own song here.
They say we are asleep until we fall in love. We are children of dust and ashes. But when we fall in love, we wake up, and we are a god and angels.
It is very beautiful. It does feel somewhat separated out from the rest of the show, but that's okay.
And I think obviously Josh Groban's voice is something else entirely, but the way that he's like pleading with the and I'm so ready to wake up is heartbreaking. And I think this song is just so incredible and obviously was tailored to his voice. And I love a note that Dave Malloy made because he wrote this for Josh Groban knowing he would be taking it to Broadway. Well, then when Dave Malloy stepped back into the role after Josh Groban left the production, he's like, oh, crap,
What did
now
I do
I
to
have to
myself?
sing this song. But I just think it's a really beautiful and well-executed song. I think it's pretty simple. I would say, of all these songs, I wouldn't say any of them are like lyrically all that complex, but I feel like the simplicity really hits its mark on this song.
Yeah, there are times that simplicity is boring, and there are times that it's profound. And this is more on the profound side for sure.
Absolutely.
I want to wake up. God, don't let me die while I'm like this. Please let me wake up now. God, don't let me die while I'm like this. I'm ready.
The next track, though, is Sunday Morning, which is one that I can't remember what it even is. It's just the next day, people are kind of reeling from what happened the night before.
It's just kind of a transition. They're not even reeling from the night before, but it's just Sonia and Natasha kind of hanging out at home.
They say you can see your future in the long row of candles, stretching back and back and back into the depths of the mirror. In the dim, confused last square, you'll see a coffin or a man. Everyone sees a man.
Maria leaves to go tell Principal Konskaya for being rude to Natasha, and it's just the girls at home, and it's just a transition song because I
Yeah.
can understand that you needed something you couldn't go straight from Dust and Ashes to Charming, but I don't think this song necessarily serves a deeper purpose than just setting up again, highlighting how kind of boring Natasha's life is, and then in walks Helene, who is anything but boring.
Yeah. Before that, though, I just want to comment. This is the first of two episodes, because In Transit will be next, where somebody loudly proclaims that it's time to go to church. Again, weird thing to happen twice in a season.
It is, and especially in two shows that have like
Nothing to do with church otherwise.
nothing to do with each
Yeah.
other.
I thought that's the thing I thought was most interesting about this.
Andre will never come, or something will happen to me before he does. Sunday morning, time for church. I suffer more now than before. The theater and Anatole.
Yeah, and that probably is the most interesting. Like, it's, again, I understand
there.
why it's there, but yeah, it's not a highlight of the show. It just kind of, it exists, and great.
Lemon numbers among my employees.
Yes, and it's, I mean, for my money, it's sandwiched between two of the best songs in the show,
Okay.
so I don't think it stood a chance of really standing out.
Well, let's just get to it then. Up next is Charming.
Amber Gray.
I definitely heard this as her singing Shantae, and I was confused what that was supposed to mean. And then I, looking at the lyrics, realized, oh, she's mispronouncing the French word for charming. And apparently that's because Dave Malloy didn't know how it's supposed to be pronounced when he wrote the song. And then later, because in the opera, I think, when Andre comes in, he says charmant correctly, because he had learned by that point. But he just liked the song. He was like, I don't want to rewrite it. So he concocted some reason of like, oh, it's about how she's so confident even though she doesn't know what she's doing. And I'm like, okay, sure. We'll go with that.
Oh, how she blushes, my pretty. Oh, how she blushes, my pretty. Shantae, Shantae. You are such a lovely thing, where have you been? It's such a shame to bury pearls in the country. Shantae, Shantae, charming.
Yeah, it's an artistic license piece, and it fits well, and I don't feel the need to justify why it's there. And
It's repeated so much. So frequently throughout the song is the charmante, charmante.
yeah, I don't know French, so it didn't bother me all that much. Like, I knew it was incorrect, but I didn't read more.
Well, whatever it
into
was, I knew it didn't make sense. And that's what we're repeating over and over is the nonsensical part.
Yeah.
So Amber Gray sounds amazing, but I don't like this song because of that.
Oh, yeah, it did not bother me. And Amber Gray has such a unique voice. And especially on Broadway, you hear the people who have the more traditional style of voices because that's what's written for. So it's really refreshing to have her voice type there, and knowing that she goes on to play like Persephone in Hadestown, and she just embodies her characters so much. And I think she's incredible. And I think this song I love that it's her kind of conniving, her and her brother just mischief makers,
Yeah.
and kind of helping to seduce Natasha.
Yeah, because Anatole wanted Helene to go invite Natasha to come to the party that they're throwing so that he can hit on her there. You know, classy. And so she's definitely being very manipulative of, oh, you have these pretty dresses. Well, it's a crime to have a pretty dress and not wear it anywhere. Like, you're being so manipulative of this innocent girl who has no idea what she's doing.
So you love somebody charming, but that's no reason to shut yourself in. Even if you're engaged, you must wear your dress out somewhere.
Yeah, just because you have a fiance doesn't mean you can't have fun. And Natasha knowing that she has a husband and yet she still has a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Our impressionable lead. But I'm fairly sure that if Amber Gray showed up to my house with some pretty dresses and told me to cheat on my significant other, I'd consider it.
I mean, consider it. But Natasha goes through with that.
Yeah. I'm a little older than Natasha.
I will say, even though the song is not my favorite, it does have one of the most beautifully poetic lines in the show for me. It's such a shame to bury pearls in the country. Like, that is such a brilliant metaphor that is so simple and easy to understand, but still just feels so elevated because, I don't know, pearls evoke this, not just beautiful, but fancy and rich and
And delicate.
We can't waste you by not having you go out and be seen. And it's brilliant. She's evil, but it's brilliant.
You gotta respect an evil genius.
I guess so. So Natasha does accept, and the next track is The Ball. So she arrives, not quite like Lucy in Sweeney Todd, going to the ball under false pretenses, but it's definitely a little bit like that.
I could see the parallel there.
But
And
at least she doesn't get raped and driven insane here.
yeah,
So that's a win for this show.
you're setting the bar real high there,
I know.
Alex.
I'm being so nice. So she's there. Anatole is hitting on her hardcore.
Don't lower your eyes, I love you. I am in love, dear, I am in love. Gaze in my eyes, I love you. You are bewitching. What can I do, darling? What can I do?
Not subtle. That's not his thing.
No, it's not the show's thing, and he is the least subtle part of the show.
Yeah. So there's definitely a hard shift in the song after Anatole and Natasha kiss.
Natalie,
You press my arm.
Natalie,
You're hurting my hands.
Natalie.
I don't understand. I have nothing to say.
We don't know that that's what's happening, but the music is building to a fever pitch, and then it's referenced in the next song. Mm-hmm. But she definitely went real quick from, oh, I could never, to, oh, I've clearly always been in love with you.
Yeah. And again, just speaks to that naivete of, oh, I would do anything for Andre. But now this shiny new Anatole walks by and...
I mean, I loved you before I knew Andre. I just didn't know I loved you.
yeah,
Like, she's
it's-
really trying to convince herself of this.
Yeah, and when your brain isn't done forming, it's probably easier to convince yourself of these things.
Yeah, and it's not that unrealistic because, like you said, underdeveloped brains and teenagers will do crazy things. Mm-hmm. But that has never been something that I have felt, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
So that storytelling device always kind of makes me roll my eyes. Like Romeo and Juliet, West Side Story. Anytime it's used, I'm just like, really? You're going to throw your life away for somebody you met yesterday?
Yeah, I definitely have employed the suspension of disbelief because that is also a trope I cannot relate to by any means.
I'll do anything for you.
So as this emotion is all building, we lead to the end of the act. Mm-hmm. So hooray, intermission. So after intermission, now we come back to letters. And this is, again, a big ensemble number, but this time with more interspersed solos of the different characters writing to each other.
I think it's an effective way of bringing in multiple conversations. And I feel like it handles it a little with a lighter hand than some of the other songs in the show, where it's less dramatic to switch from character to character. It's slightly more organic in this song than others.
And it is definitely a hard thing to do to make letter writing interesting in a show. Mm-hmm. Even in a movie or TV show, it's hard because it does not translate well. So this is a very good job, I think, as far as getting us to shift between the different letters and it not feel so awkward. And we, for better or for worse, we've established that there's this narration style that makes it feel natural that they're reading the letters that they're writing. The main refrain is super catchy, but it does bug me a little bit.
In 19th century Russia, we write letters, we write letters. We put down in writing what is happening in our minds. Once it's on the paper, we feel better, we feel better. It's like some kind of clarity when the letter's done and signed.
I think it's just a little too self-aware for me, and the show thinks it's smarter than it is. Like, it's effective, but it just reads smarmy to me. I don't know why.
I guess I don't see it that way, but I might be too close to it.
Letters. I don't know. I don't like it.
I think it's, yeah.
I mean, it's still catchy. It's
Oh,
very
it's
catchy.
so catchy. And I think they may have also realized, again, in the stage production, that people may have some disconnect here. And this was a big point of audience interaction where all of the ensemble, everyone in the show hand delivers a letter that they've written to an audience member.
Love it.
Yep. And that was one of the things I really enjoyed about it. And I think that may have distracted from what the song may be lacking.
And
But
again, the song is written to work in the show, not written for the album.
definitely.
But for me on the album, not getting that full experience, I'm just like, eh.
Yeah, it is one of the songs in the show that I would say is one of the ones I do seek out. And I think it might be now that I'm examining it, it's probably because of how catchy it is
Yeah.
the reason I return to this one.
So as we're going through this, the convention is that the character starts singing, and they are singing the letter that they are writing. First Pierre, then Natasha, then Mary. And then Anatole comes in with the stupidest letter ever written, if we're following that same pattern.
Dear Natalie, a love letter, a love letter, a love letter.
A letter from him, from the man that I love.
A letter which I composed.
I mean, true, a real letter follows after that. But it's just like, based on the pattern that you set up and how we are to interpret what they're singing means in this song, why is he writing a letter that just says a love letter? Like, picture him writing out with a quill, a love letter, a love letter, a love letter.
I think part of that is to show that like there's not much going on with Anatole. Like there's not a lot of depth there, because they go on to say a love letter for Natalie, Natasha, and then Dolokhov goes, a letter that I composed.
Yeah.
So it almost struck me as like a Cyrano de Bergerac type, where Anatole's got the face, but not much going on.
Yeah.
He's not a wordsmith.
The fact that it starts with Dear Natalie and then a love letter, that's what makes it seem like that's what he's literally writing.
I could see that, but I always took it as the way I envisioned it is Dolokhov writing and Anatole trying to tell him, like, what you need to be writing is a love letter.
Okay, so you're seeing it as Anatole is dictating
Yes.
nonsense, and then Dolokhov is turning it into an actual letter.
Yes, that is the way I've interpreted it.
Okay, and that's very fair, but that's not how it feels to me.
And again, I'm probably too close to it to see it as other people would.
That's okay. So at the end of the song, Lucas Steele is singing so high, and it's very impressive, but I don't know that I like it. Like, and maybe that's intentional, because it's really kind of weird and creepy.
It is. It ventures past the point of charming and that kind of overconfidence. And I think the way I've interpreted that is kind of like him going past that point and like leaning too far into his characterization, and it almost breaking, where you realize that he's all bluster.
You know, it is impressive, though.
Some of his vocal feats are incredible.
Yeah, like, I don't envy anybody having to take over that part
No,
or perform it anywhere else.
And I'm trying to think, has Lucas Steele done anything on Broadway since?
No. I think he's one of the ones that this is his only Broadway credit.
And I know he caught a cult following.
Pretty boy who can sing that high? Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
Natalie, 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 if you love me, say yes, and I will come and steal your way, steal in the dark. Natalie, Natalie, Natalie,
I want nothing more. Just say yes.
Yeah, he killed it. And I don't know, in this role, I feel like he also almost, and this is a stretch, but I feel like he almost had like a Tilda Swinton type of quality to him, where kind of that alien, detached nature a bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like that high note kind of lends itself to that idea.
Yeah. Maybe whether that was intentional or not in the writing and the direction,
Yeah.
it certainly could be a subconscious part of how people interpret it.
For sure. And like, yeah, I don't think it was intentional in the writing, and that's certainly not the way I've seen it portrayed in other productions. I think that might just be a Lucas Steele factor.
Yeah. Work with what you got.
Exactly.
After this, we have Sonia and Natasha. I love how most of these tracks are just two characters, and that's whatever. Again, that's very opera, where it's not a song, it's recitative, so why come up with a title? Just who is doing it?
Yep.
So it's effective, but it's not my thing. Anyway, so Sonia finds the letter that Anatole wrote to Natasha. She reads it, and then Britton Ashford is singing about it, and she's sounding kind of like Florence Welch, not as much as the girl in Paramore. Again, it's happening a second time. Why is this so weird this season? But Sonia does become my favorite character when she's the first one to tell Natasha how stupid she's being.
But I can't believe it, I don't understand how you loved one man a whole year, and suddenly you've only known him 3 days. Natasha, you're joking. 3 days. It seems to me I've loved him 100 years.
And then Natasha's defense is just, it feels longer than that, okay? Give me a break.
Yeah, very much demonstrating the 17-year-old, there's a lot of hormones happening and things shift rapidly.
Yeah, I just find it annoying.
Yeah, and I do appreciate, Sonia is a pretty minor character, but she's definitely the most grounded. And I appreciate that, like, with you're joking.
Yes.
Like, no one else
Not
is.
just, are you sure this isn't a bad idea? It's like, you can't be this stupid, right?
Yeah, like, you're my best friend, you're my cousin. I didn't think you were an idiot, but are you?
Maybe that's why she's my favorite character.
Yes, I admittedly lack the talent and have certainly aged out of the role. But if I could do anything, I have always joked if I won the lottery, I would self-produce this show and play Sonia.
Well, in that scenario, you still could.
Yeah, there you go.
And I love her even more than she goes on to point out that if Anatole was being honorable, he wouldn't be trying to steal her away in secrecy.
What has happened between you? What has he said to you? Why doesn't he come to the house and openly ask for your hand? Why this secrecy? Have you thought what his secret reasons may be? I don't know what the reasons are, but there must be reasons. Sonia, one can't doubt him.
And Natasha just kind of short circuits, like,
He
I
has
don't
his
know.
reasons.
He must have his reasons, I'm sure.
I don't know what they are, but I'm sure they're there.
He would never not have reasons.
Yeah, I do appreciate how different they are and really highlighting Natasha's naivete, because Sonia, kind of being that grounded person while still young, is wiser.
Yes. And then after that, Natasha just throws a full-on tantrum.
Throws herself on the
Girl.
floor, thrashing around.
Yeah. And it's like, I hate you, I'll never forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is some of the best musical storytelling in the show, that as the temper is building and as the tantrum's getting more out of hand, the music is getting faster, it's getting heavier, and it's matching her emotional state so well. And that is so operatic that it just makes that moment feel more normal as part of the storytelling. Like, it's still obviously ridiculous, but the music matching it kind of tricks your brain into going along with it a little bit more.
Yeah, it feels less out of left field than some of the turns the show has taken.
Yeah. And it tells us that the show is aware that this is crazy and it's going along with it. And so, okay, there must be a point to this.
And I also
So I guess,
appreciate
it feels more intentional, whereas other things have felt improvisational to me.
But it's not your business, it won't be you, it'll be me who'll suffer. Leave me alone, yes, leave me alone. I hate you, Sonia. I hate you, Sonia. I hate you, I hate you. You're my enemy forever. I burst into sobs.
And I appreciate that they kind of take it to a 10 at that point, and then it really sets up the next song well by pointing out of, like, this is so crazy, let's get back to what the real world is, with Sonia alone and kind of, again, with that more grounded performance.
Yeah. Let's just get into that.
Yes.
Sonia Alone. This is another one where I really like the music. It's kind of comforting, but then there's a dissonant chord, very subtly dissonant. Just enough to kind of a little bit of souring of the moment, so that you don't get fully lulled back into, oh, we're in familiar territory again. It's like, yes, but.
And again, with the emotional storytelling, it's portraying that Sonia is kind of that through line, but also portraying her emotional break.
Yeah.
Whereas with Natasha's emotional break, it's her kicking and screaming, but Sonia is much more reserved, but you can still
just that
tell that
twinge.
she's broken.
Yeah.
With that just like hint of discord.
Yeah, it's very effective there.
Hard as it is in the coming days, I watch my friend in her strange, unnatural state.
I really do appreciate Britton Ashford's voice, but this is some god-awful diction in this song.
She has the indie singer diction.
Yeah.
And I've listened to her music, and it's 100% her. I would be interested. I know some of the understudies for Sonia were more kind of classical musical theater people, and I would be curious as to their interpretation of it.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, the diction, I mean, growing up,
And it's even worse here than it is other parts of the album that she's singing. And granted, this is her most solo moment, I guess.
yeah,
but
it's her only real solo.
Yeah, the whole song is just her.
Yeah, it's Sonia alone.
It is Sonia alone by definition.
But yeah, in regards to like the kind of feeling like home and safe, it does for me having like come of age during like the stomp clap. Like,
Yep. It's very much that.
yeah.
But it's just, for musical storytelling, we need the words to get the story.
Yeah.
And there's so many dropped consonants and really weird vowels. And then it's not helped by the very choppy phrasing, sometimes even breaking in the middle of a one-syllable word. Like, I didn't even know that was possible. But like force. It's not force, it's force. Like, come on, how? Just attach the word to itself even, come on.
Oh, I will stand in the dark for you. I will hold you back by force. I will stand here right outside your door. I won't see you disgraced.
Yeah, there's definitely, that is very reflective of the way that Britton Ashford sings. And I think, again, it reflects the kind of experimental off-kilter theater that Dave Malloy resonates with and writes.
Yeah. I'm going to still hold Or Matias a little responsible. As the music director, he should have reined it in a little bit. Like, we still want that style, but we got to understand the words.
Yeah, you could definitely tone it down a bit. And it was interesting to me. I had listened to when Ingrid Michaelson had sang it, or at one point they released a promotional video of Britton and Ingrid singing it together. And I do think part of it was probably written, but Ingrid Michaelson did kind of smooth over some of those bits where still staying true to how it was written, but also smoothing a little bit more where it's a little less disjointed. And if I recall correctly, she's saying force as a single word.
Good for her.
But yeah, I love this song. It's been stuck in my head ever since. And even I will go stretches without listening to this show. And just in quiet moments, I will just be singing to myself. And I'm like, oh, we're back to Sonia alone.
It is very beautiful melodically. And there are some not bad lyrics if you can understand them.
And again, with like the simplicity of the lyrics where you don't,
This is a simple moment.
yeah, you don't need verbose words to describe what she's going through of feeling so betrayed because she's trying to look out for her friend and her friend just
I
casts
hate
her
you, I
aside.
don't ever want to see you again. Like, wow, okay. I thought I meant more to you than that.
And even just in the beginning of the song with her reflecting and she's blaming herself for what Natasha did of like, how was it I noticed nothing?
I was like, girl, this all happened in a day. You didn't
Yeah.
have much time to notice things.
Yeah, there wasn't much pretext there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is one of the strongest musical moments of the show. And I think it has that agreement between the music and lyrics that not every song in this show has.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
I know you've forgotten me. I know you so well, my friend. I know you might just throw yourself over, but I won't let you.
So, despite the objections of Sonia, Anatole is planning to whisk Natasha away and elope with her. And the next track is Preparations. Anatole's kind of on the street, runs into Pierre, and says that he's eloping. And Pierre calls out that he's already married, which I don't think that was mentioned before, was it? They kind of hinted that he was a player, but not that he was actually married. I could be mistaken, though.
I think at the ball, Dolokhov
Maybe it's in one of those
says it.
lines.
I could be wrong, though.
Okay. But anyway, Pierre's like, oh, that's great, but, what?
Yeah, you're married already.
And Anatole thinks he deserves Natasha anyway. Such an asshole.
Ha! An elopement. Fool, you are married already.
Don't talk to me of that. I will not deprive myself of this one. Tonight, I take her tonight. Lend me 50 rubles.
And it's one of those moments where kind of the near miss where had he just said, oh, it's Natasha, Pierre would have probably put a stop to it right away. But because Pierre doesn't know it's Natasha, he's like, you know what? Good for you. Everyone deserves to find love after his revelation in Dust and Ashes, and it's kind of that near miss, and it's turned on his head when Pierre figures out what the plan actually was.
Yes, and that'll come a little bit later. But in the course of this conversation, again, Anatole asks Pierre for 50 rubles, and then a little bit later in the song, we find out that he has 20,000 rubles that he has gotten from Dolokhov and Helene, not from himself, other people's money. It's like, you just got 20,000 and you're asking Pierre for another 50 just to fuck with him? Like, what is wrong with you?
I mean, they didn't have ATMs back in the day. They had Pierre.
For 50 at a time.
Yep. But yeah, I think...
Such an asshole.
Yeah, 1,000%. And this song is not one that I seek out, but I do appreciate I feel like throughout a lot of this show, the rhythm tells a lot more of the story than what we would typically see in musicals, where the melody is telling a lot of the story, but the frantic rhythm in this really portrays like Anatole's ready to do this and he wants to get it done now because he knows it can go so wrong.
Yeah.
And Helene and Dolokhov Helene's fully on board and Dolokhov tries to work out the kinks.
Yes.
If this marriage isn't valid, then I'm off the hook. But if it is valid, it really doesn't matter. No one abroad is gonna know a thing about it. Isn't that so now? Don't you know? Don't talk to me. Don't what? Ah, go to hell now. I'm a clutching my hair. It's the very devil here. Feel how it beats.
This is also, I feel, part of why this, we're realizing what an asshole he is. This is the first song that we're not really getting him trying to charm anybody, because he's already gotten, or at least being on the way to what he wants. So he's just being a normal person with Pierre and letting his horridness shine through. And they were like, oh, you were bad before, and now that was you being nice? Oh, okay.
I do think he still has some pretense up with Pierre.
Well, I don't think he can ever not. But
yeah.
It's a lot less than it has been before at the club or when he's seducing Natasha.
Yep. And even less when he's interacting with Helene and Dolokhov. Like, obviously, there's no reason for him to pretend with those two.
Yeah. I do really, really like the music of Dolokhov's sections where it's simple but suspenseful. Like, it's a lot of repeated on the same note, but then we get really interesting intervals as he's doing his very rushed, trying to make things work bits. And I think it's very effective at creating that mood, like you said, with the rhythm of it. And I appreciated that more as I re-listened. I was like, this is nice. There's some really bad scansion issues because of that, but overall, I appreciate a lot about it.
The plan for Natalie Rostova's abduction had all been arranged and the preparations made on the day that Sonia decided to save her. That was the day that the game was to be played. Natasha was to be on her back porch at 10. Anatole and his troika would scoop her up, and then they'd ride 40 miles to the village of Kameka, where an unfrocked priest was to make him get wed. Then back into the troika, off they'd go, take the pole and arrow to the wedding bed.
Yeah, I think, like a lot of songs in this show, it functions well for what it is. Is it one of the top 100 songs ever written for musical theater? No. But does it operate well? It gets across the information that it needs to, and it sets the tone.
Yeah. And in the context of the show, it is doing exactly what it needs to, but that doesn't always lend itself to a good cast album experience.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. So part of what Dolokhov has arranged is a ride for Anatole and Natasha to get out of town. And that ride is Balaga. Oh boy.
Hey Balaga, oh Balaga, hey 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 Balaga, hey hey Balaga, the famous troika driver.
One of my favorite things about this song in particular, that I would be very surprised if there was a single person out there who these two discordant worlds resonated with. But for a time, there was an offensive tackle on the Green Bay Packers named Brian Balaga. And every time I saw him on the field, I would, yeah, hey Balaga, oh, Balaga, like every single time. And now still,
and everybody looks at you like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, and still when I listen to the song, I think about Brian Balaga.
Perfect.
It's Balaga,
Driving mad at 12 miles an hour.
Balaga,
Coming straight at you, get out my way, get out my way.
Balaga,
Lashing my whip at horses and peasants.
Balaga,
Risking skin of life 20 times a year for my fine, fine gentlemen. Yes, sir, hey ho, yes, sir. Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
I don't love Paul Pinto's voice as Balaga, but the song is very effective because he's one of the people that's playing multiple characters, and he's
Plays
being
like the manservant for the
and
Bolkonskis.
so he's being intentionally very gruff here because that's the character. And this is one that on like the first listen through, this was the first song I was like, oh, I really like this because it's very fast, it's dancey. They're just repeating Balaga, Balaga.
It's just
While
fun.
he does not, fast speaking in between. And then as I was digging in deeper and going through the lyrics, I'm like, yeah, what's in between the Balagas is not that good. Like, it's not that interesting and it's not that nice to listen to, but it's still so catchy with the chord progression, very repetitive, very folk dance, and it's doing well for the energy that it's trying to bring.
Who's that slowpoke we abuse with wild and tipsy shouts?
Who knows things that would get you sent straight to Siberia if anyone found out? Driving mad at 12 miles an hour. Coming straight at you, get out my way, get out my way.
In a similar vein to like the characterization of Anatole, I mean, Balaga's not supposed to be like introspective. He's just fun and wild, and I feel like
He does this for free just because he gets a kick out of it. Like, that's weird.
sometimes asks for ruples.
Once a year. Like, that's just, I don't get that either. But
I always read that as like pretending he's so giving, and like he obviously asks for ruples every time, but he's trying to make people believe.
this is the only time I do this.
Yes.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, kind of the con man type of view. And I feel like with the difference between the ensemble chanting Balaga versus what he's saying, like he kind of feels like a con man to me in that way. And so that's how I've always heard
Yeah.
it is.
I can see that.
And he almost says it in like, obviously his voice is not saccharine sweet, but I feel like that moment is as close to saccharine sweet where he's mocking what he's saying.
Yeah. And because of his personality, I guess, this is turning into a very festive time, which will continue more in the next song.
Briefly.
But we're getting kind of a return of that vocal riff from the duel, which is really like, I like that vocal riff. So it's fun to have that come back here.
Oh, that's my song!
It just kind of shows that we're getting back into that partying mindset, which continues at the beginning of the next track, The Abduction. Anatole is reveling with his friends and the women that he's bedded in the past, and this is kind of his one more hurrah before he takes his girl and heads out of town.
I really appreciate Anatole's goodbye, and I also appreciated in the annotations how Dave Malloy kind of questioned whether Anatole refers to everyone as his gypsy lovers, and Dave Malloy was like, I know that's not like a politically correct term, but also at the time it would have been like there wouldn't have been the issue with it then. And I found it interesting that he decided to keep that, but I do think it's very effective, and it kind of portrays how Anatole views everyone, as like he knew that none of these relationships were going to be long lasting, and I think it's also hinting at the fact that he's not really anticipating his fling with Natasha to be long lasting either.
Goodbye, my gypsy lovers. All my revels here are over. Well, goodbye, Matryoshka. Kiss me one last time. Oh.
I don't love that. Like, we had this discussion, which episode was it? Oh, it was Miss Saigon.
Oh yeah.
And like, I am on board with shows using slurs when it is done because the sentiment could not be conveyed another way. But just using a slur because that's how the person would speak at the time feels a little not okay to me. Just, well, by that logic, you can do a whole lot of things that you don't need to tell the story. So it just feels like I think we could have and maybe should have found a different word for that, because other places he did change it.
And I would be curious if that was one that was pulled directly from War and Peace as well. Again, not that that would fully justify it, but I think it also if you're looking at it from a modern lens, could also portray that Anatole is an asshole who he doesn't care about the words that he's using in that way.
Yeah, I don't know that it is. I mean, it's always censorship. That whole conversation of art, and it's more complicated than we could ever get into here.
Oh, for sure.
But casually including slurs that people are going to sing along with and not think about it, and that just becomes something that's part of their vocabulary. That's where it's like, versus, the example I always go back to is in the Ballad of Booth in Assassins. He uses the N-word very pointedly.
Yeah.
And not in a way that anybody's going to be singing along and just absentmindedly saying the word.
I also thought it was fascinating that they used that bit of the song for the Tony's performance.
Yeah.
Because especially if Dave Malloy was of the mind that this was, at very least, a controversial choice, it seems very interesting that that would be a moment you would choose to include, which I do understand. Melodically, that moment is catchy, and with the moment of kind of everyone throwing their arms around each other and enjoying the moment, I understand how the emotion of it fit and made sense for Tony's performance, but it did strike me as odd that they would choose to include that part to kind of immortalize the show in that way.
Anyway, we could spend all day on this.
Yep.
So they're partying. There's an instrumental section, which is fun. They're dancing around. We're getting some musical callbacks to the prologue and other, small themes throughout the show. And then Anatole is stopped by Maria as he's going to pick up Natasha. And she is pissed. She is not having it.
And Sonia's the one who let Maria know that this was all happening.
Mm-hmm. And I love that near the end of the track, as she is kind of making this all come crashing down, we get these really bizarre synth effects. Like the electronica thing for Anatole has been cool before, and now it's really off-putting and uncomfortable because he's getting called on his shit.
Yeah, it kind of felt like the someone poured water under the synth machine, and that motif was
just
dying.
Glitching out. Yeah, very much that.
You will not enter my house, scoundrel.
Anatole, come back. Betrayed. Betrayed. Anatole, come back. Betrayed. Betrayed. Anatole, come back. Betrayed.
And Grace McLean, again, with the really unique voices, with Grace McLean as Maria in this song and the next. Like, I can't imagine how you could find someone to recreate that. She has such a unique voice and so powerful and really cutting. And while it might not be like the most enjoyable thing to listen to, it works so effectively. And even like some of the phrases that she sings get stuck in my head. And it's one of those moments where when I'm listening to it alone in my car and I want to sing along, I'll step back and be like, I'm going to let her handle that line.
This is going to sound weird, but I think it's probably similar to Oh Mary, where as they've gone from actor to actor playing Mary, no one has tried to just recreate what Cole did originally, because if you try to do that, you will fail and it will be bad. So they've each kind of tried to step back and be like, what is the essence of the character that I need to somehow embody? So I feel like if you're replacing Grace McLean, you should not be trying to imitate her. You should be trying to get, okay, what is the important emotional point to convey? And what about my voice can I use to do that? Because, yeah, you're not going to get anywhere trying to be just like she was.
Yeah, you can get to a 10 in your own way.
Yeah, and I think that's what's kept Oh Mary going so well, is they have been very intentional about finding that different voice that still works in the show. So,
and also
the joy of replacements always.
A master class in stunt casting as well in Oh Mary.
Another thing we could talk about forever.
Yes.
But anyway, the next track is In My House. So this is the full wrath of Maria being spewed at Anatole. She is very pissed for what he was about to do. And
she's pissed at Natasha for allowing it to going along with it.
Because the end of the track before was at Anatole. And now she's turning her ire toward Natasha for, you were going to go along with this after I let you stay in my house and took care of you.
You dirty, nasty wench of a thing. Now don't you say one word. In my house, our girl hussy. It's lucky for him he escaped, but I'll find him. Now you listen to me when I speak to you. Now you listen to me when I speak to you. In my house. Do you hear what I'm saying or not?
And Natasha does not take that well.
Yeah. And
shocking, I know.
Did you not think about what this would do to the family? And she rides that line between she's kind of the prim and proper old school Moscow lady, but also like the feral mother figure. And I think it's interesting how she portrays both of those.
Yeah. And in the way that it's been set up throughout the show so far, there's always a trope in media of think about how people will see us like this. And it's often that's not important, and you're focused on how people will think of you. But there are times when it's very actually important. So think of what you could have done to the family. It's not just that people would be gossiping about them. They could have lost everything by her doing this because all these plans are in motion, and weddings are more often than not about political alignments and families merging and not about love.
Yeah, they're business transactions.
So it's not just, they'll think negatively of us. It's you could have really put the whole family in a really bad spot. What is wrong with you?
Why didn't he come to the house? Why didn't he openly ask for your hand? You were not kept under lock and key, carrying you off like some gypsy girl. And if he had carried you off, don't you think your father would have found him? Your father, I know him. He will challenge him to a duel, and what then will that be? All right, he's a scoundrel. He's a wretch. That's a fact.
And I appreciate that as she's kind of crashing out, she elaborates on that, and not just what could you have done from the family, but she's kind of exploring the different legs of that and thinking about how, once Andre finds out and there's going to be a duel and someone's going to die because you did this.
Yeah. And I think we get into that a little bit more in the next track. So next up is a call to Pierre. So in the middle of the night, Maria sends a messenger over to Pierre saying, get over here now. Because you need to fix this with Natasha.
Yep.
And it's time for some damage control. What can we do to salve the situation? And, okay, before we get to the part that we were about to talk about, Maria is catching Pierre up to speed, and it's so clunky. She gives a line of exposition, and he says, what? Then she gives another line of exposition, and he sings, what? And each one gets a little bit more urgent, and then they start rising in tone. I'm like, that's really all we're going to have Pierre do to react is just what over and over again?
Natasha has let down the family.
What?
Natasha has broken with Andre.
What?
Natasha has tried to elope.
What?
Natasha and Anatole again. We need your help. We need your help. There's a ruin at the door.
And I feel like his tone could have risen more. Like, it got there at the end, but the first few, it was quite monotone, where I understand it's processing a lot. But yeah, I get what you're saying about that being a clunkier moment. And it's one of those moments where the style that this show is set up does not lend itself to conveying the information that needs to be conveyed in this scene.
Yeah, in this kind of a way. And it's like we were kind of talking about before a little bit. She is worried, kind of her primary worry really is that when Andre returns, he'll challenge Anatole to a duel, but he'll lose because he's not a good shot. And then she has this whole elaborate scenario that she thinks is going to happen. So she sends Pierre out to find Anatole and stop this and keep it from getting out that this was going to happen. Because they stopped the elopement, but if word gets out, it could still be very, very bad.
As someone who has been through a lot of therapy, I think I can correctly identify that she is catastrophizing in this scene.
Yes. And some of it is very rational. Some of it is maybe not so much.
Yeah. She's definitely just reacting, and she is maybe not fully processing just yet.
Yeah. And her solution is make Anatole leave.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, sure, that kind of fixes things, but not entirely. Okay. So
I personally can't think of a better solution.
yeah, I guess. anything else would be more public. So, yeah.
You must go see your brother-in-law and tell him that he must leave Moscow and not dare to let me set my eyes on him again.
At once.
All right. Well, then that sends out Pierre on his mission for the next track, Find Anatole. And he is just going all over town looking for Anatole and can't find him at the club, at the bars, at any place.
Anatole, find Anatole. Anatole, find Anatole. Not at the ice hills, not at Matreshka's, not at Komanhano's. Anatole, find Anatole. Anatole, find Anatole. To the club.
So he goes home, and that's where Anatole is.
And it has some of the familiar melody, too, of kind of the more suspenseful moments that kind of comes back with the frantic pace of Pierre's searching.
Yeah. And it's not important, but I do find it kind of funny that he was running himself ragged all over town, and Anatole was in his own house with his wife, Anatole's sister, just chilling. Like, oh, were you looking for me? Oh, I had no idea. I've just been here.
And Pierre comes in pissed, and Helene is like, immediately got her brother's back. Like, oh, Pierre, you just don't understand everything Anatole's been through.
I'm sure he has his reasons.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Good evening, sir. Prince Anatole is in the drawing room with the Countess.
Ah, Pierre, sweet husband, you don't know what a plight our Anatole has had.
Be quiet.
So there's not really a whole lot to Find Anatole. It's just, again, storytelling-wise in the show, we need this to have things happen. And the real bulk of it happens once he gets home in the next track, Pierre and Anatole. And there's a line that at the very beginning from Anatole that is so perfectly written as just a line. I don't love it as a lyric, but it's great as a line itself.
I don't consider myself bound to answer questions put to me in that tone.
Like, that's just such a way of saying, I'm not saying anything to that.
Yeah, and I think, again, it speaks to the character of Anatole. And I think I understand why you don't like the self-narration, but I think in this song it really works. Again, I can write it off more with Anatole because of just kind of his general air about him. But how he...
See, this is the one that really... This is where I first noticed how off-putting it was.
Oh, interesting.
When Pierre is threatening Anatole. And it's so... I don't like it at all.
My face already pale becomes distorted by fury. I seize you by the collar with my big, big hands. And I shake you from side to side until your face shows a sufficient degree of terror. When I tell you I must talk to you.
It's a confluence of unnatural sounding lyrics, odd structure, poor scansion. None of it works for me.
That line I do not care for.
My big, big hands.
Yeah, that one just seems odd to me. But when Anatole does the narration in the song...
Yeah, it's more so when Pierre is doing it that just really bugs me.
And again, with all of it doesn't fit with the characterization. Like, the justification I have for the Anatole lines, Pierre is the exact opposite of Anatole. So again, it just feels a lot more awkward. It doesn't fit quite as well. And even with Josh Groban's voice, it just doesn't sound right.
Yeah, he sounds too beautiful for the sentiment there. It's part of what, in several places, held him back from being a great Sweeney. Like, there were a lot of things that he did very well, but there are parts that he just couldn't quite tap into that because he just sounds too angelic.
Yeah.
But halfway through the song, Pierre does get to tell Anatole what we've all been thinking and wanting to tell him the whole show.
After all, you must understand that besides your pleasure, there is such a thing as other people and their happiness and peace, and that you are ruining a whole life for the sake of amusing yourself.
Like, seriously, what is wrong with you that you're this selfish and can't even fathom that you're ruining people's lives?
I also really appreciate the line when Pierre is like kind of demanding more answers from him with the, have you any letters of hers, any letters? And then, I shan't be violent, don't be afraid. So from like threatening him and...
Very quickly be like, okay, you know that I was bluffing there.
Yeah, calm down.
Yeah.
But then he lays down the law and tells him, like, you know what, you gotta get out of Moscow. And I still think it's funny that even after everything, he's still hitting Pierre for money to get out of Moscow.
Why stop now? I also do like that Anatole is not reacting well to Pierre's lecture, so we hear more of those kind of glitching sounds in the background to show us that he is really uncomfortable right now.
Well, I don't know about that, I don't know that, and I don't want to. But you have used such words to me, scoundrel and so on, which as a man of honor, I will not allow anyone to use.
Is it satisfaction you want?
You could at least take back your words, if you want me to do as you wish.
He is feeling like he's getting backed into a corner. And I think, is it this one that as the track goes on, he's singing higher and higher, kind of sounding more and more anxious and scared?
Oh, yeah. And then at the end, he hits the
And then at the end,
ear-shattering one.
yet another, even more specific, weird mirror of Anastasia.
Next day, Anatole left for Petersburg.
It almost doesn't even
It's like
sound right.
it's like My Petersburg.
Yeah, it
In both of them, it ends on Berg being way up high and not preceded by saints, so it's just Petersburg. So I'm like, that is really specific to happen twice in the same season.
yeah, it is odd. And
And Zachary and I had plenty to talk about with that
Oh,
in the
I-
Anastasia episode, so go listen to that, everybody.
yeah, there's a lot there, but
Yeah, because Berg, like a schwa is not a good note to hold for a high note that long.
yeah, definitely not. But I do appreciate that even after Anatole shows a moment of like genuine fear there, he still ends with the cringing smile, which Pierre knew so well in his wife. And just,
Ooh, yeah. That, and I'm sure that's obviously from War and Peace. That might be tough to really take in the moment watching the show, but when you actually can reflect on it and like, oh, like he is projecting so much of the stuff that he's let himself be subjected to over the years with Helene, and it's just so well phrased that he sees all of that thrown back in his face even more by having it in this situation now too.
yeah. And I feel like in that moment, Pierre almost blames Helene for what he's become as well.
Yeah.
He sees that and it revolts him, not only because he's what he sees in Anatole, but what he sees reflected back at himself and who he's become through his association with the two of them.
And he'll get to explore that a little bit more soon.
Oh, absolutely.
But first, we have the next track, Natasha Very Ill. And this is just a very quick song to inform us that Natasha poisoned herself during the last song, which we don't know from the album, but from reading things, that's when she poisoned herself at a frenetic moment of the song. But then she had second thoughts, so she woke Sonia up and was able to seek treatment and has survived, but is just not healthy.
Yep, she is very ill.
Natasha very ill. The whole house a state of alarm and commotion. Natasha very ill, having poisoned herself with a bit of arsenic.
And I find it so interesting with this song because it's quick and it does what it needs to. And it's not like I necessarily think it needed to be longer, but it's interesting. I feel like there would be more reason to lengthen a song like this than like the Private and Intimate Lives, where thematically there's a lot more happening here.
Yeah,
But
that
I
could be
think it
interesting.
effectively gets where it's going, but it's interesting that this song gets the brevity.
Yeah, what do we choose to augment and what do we keep brief is fascinating in any show, but especially something like this where the private and intimate lives, you're like, just get it over with already.
Yeah, but I appreciate the song. It's very haunting with just the reflections in the house after everyone finds out, and still everyone has a reason to love Sonia with, even though she told me I'm the worst, I'm still going to be there for her. And
Yeah.
even Maria after
She's
everything.
a stupid teenager.
Exactly. But I think it's a very effective song and just very haunting.
Yeah. And next is Pierre and Andre. Finally, Andre is here.
Yes.
It's only taken how long now?
The entire show.
He's gotten home, which is great. I really appreciate how Nicholas Belton sings Andre. He's kind of sad, kind of in shock. Like, you're getting really complex emotions from how he's singing.
And he gets mean too.
And then, yeah, as we go along, Pierre shares the news of Natasha's health.
Natasha is ill. She has been at death's door. I much regret her illness.
And he like
You
sneers
can
it.
hear that he's not at all regretting it, but that's what you're supposed to say. But really, it's the proper way of saying, fuck around, find out.
Yep, more or less. That's the heart of it right there.
So like he's very, very expressive throughout this song. And I always appreciate that.
I almost wish he had, with how much he does in this song, especially listening to it on the recording and what he was able to accomplish just vocally, I wish he had more to do. I mean, obviously he had Volkansky, but
That is limited by the character that you have to do and the voice, and it's just...
But he killed it in this song, and I think he expressed so much.
Yeah.
Just what he was given to work with. And there were a lot more layers and a lot more acting through the singing than I think we've seen at almost any other moment of the show.
Yeah. I do appreciate the exchange as Pierre is broaching the subject of Andre taking back Natasha.
You told me once a fallen woman should be forgiven, but I didn't say that I could forgive. I can't.
He's acknowledging his own shortcomings of, I still believe that, but I never said I was capable of it. Mm-hmm. And that just kind of hits you in the face of, that sounds really mean, but actually, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, you can't necessarily blame him. Like, he has a reason to be angry, and I think it is highlighted by everyone else in the show that we've seen kind of conforming to what they should be doing, and him admitting, like, I should be doing this, but I can't.
Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly.
Another nitpicky thing, though, for me, is when he says forgive, he spreads it out, and it creates a weird and awkward Slavic stress. I'm like, you didn't need to have that. You could have just sung it in time and had it sound normal. You went out of your way to make it sound weird.
Honestly, when you brought up the force from Sonia alone, I thought of that moment as well.
Like, I understand the inclination dramatically to draw that out and not be the expected rhythm, but just the consequence of it made that word sound silly. And that's the last word you hear that he sings there, because then we're back to other things. And so it's like, that's the note you left us on.
Yeah. And I have kind of, again, with the most charitable interpretation of taking it more as like him kind of choking it out, where he's like, I don't want to say this. And that's why it kind of causes the really focusing on each syllable where he doesn't want to say that.
Sure.
I try to be objective, and I fully admit I am not.
Anyway, next up is Pierre and Natasha. And the very simple piano part at the beginning, it reminds me of something, and I can't figure out what, but it's very lovely and so simple. Like, it's just one hand on the piano. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. And it's keeping it in a very almost unfamiliar and childlike space for their interaction.
When I appeared in the doorway, she grew flustered and I hurried to her. I thought that she would give me her hand, but instead she stopped, breathing heavily.
Yeah, I feel like it explores a different childlike nature than we had seen previously from Natasha in something like No One Else, where she's got the childlike wonder, where it almost feels like this is the first time she's ever encountered a problem, and it's her childlike mind trying to comprehend that the world is not as magical as she once believed it to be.
Go figure. I do like that Pierre talks about how he was going there to despise and kind of lecture her, and then he's like, she's just so pitiable. Mm-hmm. So they end up bonding a bit.
It did. I mean, obviously age gaps were different during this time, but I do think it's interesting that the song begins with him saying, she looks like she did when she was a child and she would sing in front of us in the ballroom, and like, I know.
Frederick and the Little Night Music.
Yeah, and then towards the end, he's confessing his love.
Okay, I want to get into that a bit. Mm-hmm. So Pierre tells her that if he were not himself, if he was instead the best man in the world, and that he was able to, he would ask for Natasha's hand. Mm-hmm. Apparently, from things I was reading online, and you can make it work with other lyrics later, this is supposed to be him confessing his love for her, that he's realizing that he's in love with her. I took it as he is saying, because she's feeling like so broken and that I have no value, I will never become anything now. He's saying, no, you have so much value. If I was in a position, I would ask for your hand because you are still very much, you're not thrown away right now. I did not take it as a declaration of love.
Don't speak to me like that. I am not worth it.
Stop. 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 You have your whole life before you.
Before me.
I think I can understand how it would be taken as him saying what she needs to hear and him recognizing that's what she needs to hear and saying you deserve so much more, but also knowing that within the context of the story, they do end up together.
Yeah.
That
Far after the
Yeah.
bit that we're exploring in this musical.
Definitely down the line. But I will say, as far as cast recordings go, typically I am very annoyed when straight dialogue like that is included, which it is the only moment of straight dialogue in the entire show, so I understand why it's included, and it doesn't bother me here. But I can't think of another time where spoken words in the middle of a song haven't bothered me on a cast recording.
Well, I think that's because it doesn't feel like, and this is going to be maybe a little pedantic to some people, but it doesn't feel like he is speaking in between music. He is speaking over music that is rests. It still feels very much that it's part of the song.
Yeah, I think that is probably
And that's why it doesn't feel so out of place. And it's not that long of a section that's spoken.
Yeah, and the music kind of winds down leading up to it and slowly picks up afterwards. So I feel like it is a more organic use of speaking.
Yeah, I think, because agreed, this does not feel that weird that he's speaking those lines. And this is like him bearing his soul. And the music falls away.
Yeah, it works very, very well here. And the only other example of it I can think of is my nemesis, the speaking part in Don't Do Sadness Blue Wind of the Spring Awakening original Broadway cast recording. I hate that so much, where I'm like, okay, it can be done well. It just wasn't done well on that one.
I love that. It's weird. It's not good, but I love it.
Yeah, it pulls you out of the moment. But I like that framing of it, of it's still within the song, there's just not music.
The music is annotated rests, not break.
Yes, I like that. But I do think it's a great moment, and I think Josh Groban does a great job of delivering that line,
Yeah.
because I could see it being very easy to over-deliver on that and do too much with it. And I think the simplicity of this song overall serves it really well.
And it's crazy. This is a long song, and it does not feel long.
It really doesn't. But yeah, I think it's just a really, really sweet moment. And part of the reason why I view that monologue as a declaration of love is because of the next song with kind of the change of heart that Pierre has.
Yeah.
It suggests
And that's
something.
where you can. So, next song is The Great Comet of 1812. Finally, the third above the title name is Introduced to the Show. But this is, again, still very simple, not quite as simple as the last song. But there are lyrics here that, if you took that moment as him expressing love, a lot of this makes more sense. So I get it. That's just not how that previous line read to me until it was pointed out that he was in love. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess.
And I suppose that line could be read as opening the door to the idea of love,
Yeah.
where maybe it's not him saying I love you, but it's his warming to the idea that maybe love will find him.
Yeah. And at the beginning of the song, the music is very soothing. It's not just one-hand piano, but it's still fairly simple chords. And it's starting along what feels like a pretty familiar chord progression, but it's only the first two chords, and then it repeats those for a while.
Where to now? Where can I go now?
So it's kind of like comforting, but not satisfying, because we're not going all the way through what we're expecting to come. So we're still kind of being kept on the edge of our seats a little bit with that, even though it is beautiful, these nice, just major chords.
And I think it speaks to the fact that his story, this is not the end of his story. So we may not feel that wrap up with it. where it speaks to the story carrying on from here.
Yeah. And like I said before, we get the last of the title characters showing up.
Shines the great comet of 1812, the brilliant comet of 1812.
And it's very, very traditional melodically in that section. It's very beautiful, but that kind of, again, sets up we're winding things down, making you a little bit more comfortable before you leave the theater. And it's a nice moment.
And I like the way it's built where he's singing about how a lot of people say that this comet speaks of the end of the world and how that's not how he views it at all. He views it as so hopeful. And I thought it was really interesting, and I think it speaks to the fact of like theater is infinitely interpretable, but I had never considered that the comet was a metaphor for Natasha herself. And when that was the way it was taken with a production that I'd seen, I was like, I don't like that. I feel like this is Pierre's moment, and I like it separate from Natasha.
Natasha, go away.
Yeah, not everything's about you.
Despite what you may think.
Yes, but I like the growth that it shows for Pierre, and again, with him kind of letting down his guard, and it's the first time in the show he really expresses that hope of, you know what, there might be something coming.
Yeah, and he had said earlier, you're never awake until you've known love. And he's kind of hinting at, I'm starting to wake up now. So whether that's because he loves her or because he's opening himself up to that possibility, that's our hopeful note to end the show on.
Yeah.
But as it's going along, great, yeah, he's happy. But then there's a lyric that, again, we're in a very calm state that's very soothing. And then we get something that doesn't feel natural.
And this bright star, having traced its parabola with inexpressible speed through immeasurable space, seems suddenly to have stopped, like an arrow piercing the earth.
Parabola is a weird word to sing in this context.
Fully agree, and that has always stuck out to me as odd, scientifically accurate.
Yeah, but
odd.
It doesn't feel like a poetic word. It feels like a scientific word, and that doesn't feel in place with the rest of the story at all. It's just weird because the rest of this is so creating a mood, and then that's like a little tink.
Yeah, and this is a justification I don't fully buy into, but I feel like it speaks to he's been alone with his books for a very, very, very long time, and maybe he doesn't have the kind of language needed to describe what he's feeling. And again, I don't fully believe that. I do think it's funny, though, that Neil deGrasse Tyson went to see the show and Josh Groban tweeted about how great it was to sing something scientifically accurate in front of Neil deGrasse Tyson.
And what was his response?
I don't know that Neil deGrasse Tyson responded, but I was like, well, I'm glad that moment found an audience.
They wrote it just for him.
Yes, exactly, in hopes that he would show up there.
Yeah. And that's how the show ends.
I do think it's interesting what they do musically at the very end, where it gets a little like
Creepy.
Yeah.
Like we're heading out into space ourselves and into the unknown, which is not familiar. And it goes on for a while.
Yeah, it
Like,
lasts.
I end the episodes with the last audio from the album. This is going to be a weird one.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Here's some noise.
Yeah.
And my newly melted heart, now blossoming, into a new life.
The show ran for 336 performances at the Imperial Theater. It received 12 Tony nominations, but it only had 2 wins for lighting design and scenic design. The album was produced by Howard Kagan, Janet Kagan, Sonny Palladino, and Dave Malloy for Reprise Records, with audio engineers Isaiah Albelin and Kevin Killen, Who is your standout performance from this album?
I don't know that I can really choose between Josh Groban and Danae Benton. I think they both perfectly embody their characters. I would say Danae probably takes it because she was somewhat unknown at that point and just come out swinging like that, whereas we all knew Josh Groban could sing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his acting was great. But as far as the album goes, I would say Danae probably takes it for me.
Yeah, I think Danae as well. Her voice is crazy. She has more to sing than Pierre does. Mm-hmm. And she gets more opportunity to be expressive with what she's doing, versus Pierre is often kind of grumpy and stoic. So it is limiting for Josh Groban. So just as a performance that sticks out, I think it's Danae for me.
And she was able to show a wider range and kind of a more gradual development of her character, whereas Pierre was Pierre until the last two tracks.
Yep. What is your go-to track?
Sonia Alone.
Okay.
That or Dust and Ashes is probably a close second, and it's not even like I seek out to listen to Sonia Alone. It has just fully been stuck in my head for over a decade.
That's fair. I think for me, it's No One Else. Mm-hmm. Just that piano part is so beautiful, and that gets stuck in my head. So
yeah, I'm not surprised that is
it
your
leaves me
favorite.
wanting more. I know, right? I'm shocked. Well, let's score this album, and we'll see how this goes.
I tried to be somewhat objective.
All right. For music composition out of 15 points.
For music composition, I would probably say a 10 out of 15, I think.
Okay, interesting.
And I think the originality won it a lot of those points because it tells the story it sets out to tell, and there's truly nothing like it. You can't say that this is a derivative musical by any means. So I feel like it gets some points for the music standing alone, even if it may not be standing in the fully under the enjoyable umbrella.
And I think a lot of what makes this unique is actually the orchestration more than the music composition, because the instrumentation, the style of everything, yes, some of that is baked into the writing of it, but a lot of that, I feel like if you listen to just a piano playing, other than the tracks that are piano playing, like Balaga with just a piano, it's going to be pretty basic and not that interesting.
Valid.
So I'm going to go with 11.
Okay.
I think a lot of it is not that imaginative in the recitative sections, because that's not the point. So it is serving its purpose that it needs to. So I'm not going to dock it more for that. But yeah, for lyrics out of 15.
See, I struggle with this one because I do think lyrically there are some really, really high moments and there are some very, very low moments. So it's hard to balance those because they're a little all over the place. But then even with the lyrics that are outstanding, they're simple, which is fine and works effectively. But for this one, I would say probably a 10 for lyrics, and it's winning a lot of those points off of the songs that are the standouts. And I'm kind of not including some of the lower points in my score.
Okay. I put 7.5. I'm going straight down the middle. I don't like it, but it works for the show.
Okay. Valid.
And as I defined it in my rubric, that is what the dead middle is. So
Yep. There you go.
performance, virtuosity out of 15 points.
So I think in reading some of the bullet points here, this one I'm going to go higher with just the kind of creativity of it, with the different elements that it pulls in, and it does create a cohesive thing where there are a lot of left turns, there are a lot of different pieces, but the way it's brought together for that one, I would probably say like a 12.
Okay. I also put 12.
Oh, nice.
I think, Josh Groban and Danae Benton are just ridiculous. Lucas Steele is amazing. You have so many strong voices, but then you have so many character voices as well. And none of the character voices are super bad, but that's what pulls it down to 12 for me, despite how amazing a few of these performers are. So as an aggregate, 12 seems appropriate. Personality on the album out of 15 points.
For personality, I think it definitely has a strong personality, and while it is occasionally disjointed, I feel like for personality, it also has a strong sense of what it is, And for that, I would say I gave it another a 12.
All right, me too.
Okay.
Yeah, there's, Josh Groban has often less of that, and Danae Benton, just the characters are not written to give you that all of the time. But then you do have the Balagas, the Marias, the Polanskis that are all character. So I think that feels appropriate. For theatricality, storytelling out of 15 points.
So for this one, I struggled, but ultimately I settled on a 12 because, again, even for the songs that maybe don't themselves stand out, they operate well within the story that they're telling. I don't feel like there are any songs that really deviate too far from the story. And while there are a lot of kind of rabbit holes with the story, I feel like they all serve their purpose.
Okay. I think I'm going to go with 14, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I may not like what they're doing all the time, but it is giving... Everything is in advancement of a story. Occasionally we'll have a moment to sit and reflect in an emotion, but not much. And even that is still largely pulling in elements of the characters and the story that's going on around them for those reflective moments. So of the issues I have with this, that is not the problem for me.
Fair enough.
For emotiveness, out of 10 points.
So with this one, it again depends so wildly. It varies character to character, but overall kind of answering the questions of like, do the characters feel like real people? I think despite kind of the off the walls nature of the story and the way it's presented, I do feel like the characters are presented as full people, and even people like Anatole, who there's not much depth to, like it feels real that there's not much depth there. It's not like he is a two-dimensional character. He's just 3 dimensions of hollow, shallow man. So for this one, I said 13.
It's out of 10.
Oh, sorry. Yep, 10. It's a spreadsheet and the lines blend together. Out of 10, this one I gave an 8.
8. Okay. I put 3 here.
Okay, I get it.
Because the way that the characters are portrayed makes complete sense for the style that they're going for. But it the exaggerated tantrums from Natasha, the complete buffoonery of Anatole, like it does not feel like we're diving into the emotions in a real way is not the point. And it's not making me feel cathartic about things for the most part. So
I could see that.
I don't think this is what they were going for.
Yeah, that's valid.
For our remaining categories, inventiveness out of 5 points.
I think it's a 5 out of 5 for me for inventiveness. I think it brought in a lot of unique things. There's never really been something quite like that on Broadway. And whether it is effective in combining all of those elements, you can't deny it brought in a lot of elements.
That is a different question entirely. Yeah, even without the staging elements, just the album parts that you can get alone, I agree, 5. What is the full official description? The Russian...
Electropop Russian folk opera?
Yeah. Like that alone just tells you it's different.
Yeah.
So
it's inventive.
Yeah. For clarity and usability, out of 5 points.
So with the question you have posed underneath this of do the songs sound good and are the tracks assigned intuitively, I would say the songs that sound good sound amazing, and there's other songs as well. So for this one, I went for a 6.
Out of 5.
I'm looking at the other 15 out of 5. This spreadsheet needs to be bigger. I would say probably then a 2 out of 5.
2? Really?
Because the songs that I love so much.
I see this is more of a 5 and then taking deductions for issues. Like, the balance wasn't good, or I couldn't hear this very well, or it sounded muffled or echoey, or things like that.
I suppose the production of it was good in that way. I think one of the contributing factors to the score was the question, does the album flow well and is it cohesive? Well, I think it tells the story in a cohesive manner, looking at it as strictly an album. If you put this on shuffle, your experience could vary pretty wildly.
Yeah.
So for cohesion, and then also for the question, are there multiple songs or parts that you wish you could skip? For how much I love this show and this album, there are parts I skip.
Okay. So you're going to go with...
a 2.
2? Okay. I went with a 4.5.
Okay.
Again, that's not where I have issues with this. There are couple of mixing things like the gunshot from Pierre and the naming of the tracks. It totally is the correct choice for the style, and it makes sense, but I don't like it. But I don't like it. I don't dislike it enough to drop it more. So we're just going to go at 4.5.
Fair enough. And I think some of my scoring might be an overcorrection for trying to cover my love for the album.
Okay. And that's fine. For curb appeal out of 5 points, the album cover itself.
I like the album cover quite a bit, and I think it would be difficult to visually represent this album in its totality. I do wish that it had included one of my favorite parts of the show from an aesthetic point is the chandelier, and I wish they would have worked that more into the cover. Like, I don't have tattoos yet, but my first tattoo is going to be the chandelier from Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812.
And stylistically, you can kind of see the red explosion thing behind that is a similar shape to the chandelier.
Yeah, it definitely evokes the same thing, but I mean, I do really like the album cover, and I think they did what they could to express what they could, and I did like it over the earlier iterations of it.
Yeah.
So for this one, I said 4 out of 5.
Okay. I went with 4.5. I find it beautiful. I love that shade of red, the golden with it, the ornateness of the center, like that crest kind of thing. And it's giving the crazy opulence of the world that we're talking about. It's aesthetically great. It gives you the vibe of the show very well, I think. Does it tell you more than the vibe? Maybe not. So maybe not a 5, but the album cover actually in the past has made me want to go back and give it a try more often, just because I'm like, I love this album cover. I want to like the album too. So it is selling the album, I think.
And I do like that while it portrays the opulence, it also almost looks a little tarnished, where it's suggesting that maybe not everything is as glitzy and glamorous as it appears.
Oh, yes. That gets us to 73.5 for me and 75 for you. Not nearly as high as I thought you were going to go.
Again, I probably over-edited myself, but also I think just knowing how much I love this album, how frequently I do revisit it, I am probably more set up to pick it apart.
Also that, yeah. Well, that gets our average at 74.25. So we'll see how that factors in as we go along.
Yeah.
But this is a divisive show and album for sure.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, aside from the other things that were going into it, I kind of figured when Josh Groban left, it wouldn't last long. And obviously there were other things that led to
they handled it especially, oof.
Yeah. But I do think that it's a hard sell. It's not, I use Chanhassen Dinner Theater as kind of a measure of mass appeal, and they will never do Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812. It is...
No, they will not.
But I was thrilled that like a small theater company in Minnesota finally did it, because I figured it would come to Minnesota quicker than it did, given how rich our theater scene is. But it's a hard sell.
And it's a hard show to get the personnel correct.
That is also very, very true.
So I get it. Well, this has been fun diving into this, especially I love going through a show that I don't love, but I can appreciate elements of it. Like, if I had to rate just my love for the album out of 100, it would not be anywhere close to the score that it ended up with. And that's why I tried to break it down with the categories. So it's fun to see that play out.
And my love for it is off the charts.
Yes. Well, I'm glad that you were here with me to talk about it. If people want to follow you, stay in touch, what's the best way for them to do that?
So I'm on Instagram at Kayla Burfeind, or I am on TikTok at kayla.in.mn. And I do lots of theater, opera stuff on there, in addition to whatever else interests me at the moment. And I cover, much like this album, I kind of go all over the place.
All right. No wonder it was a good fit for you.
Exactly.
You can follow the podcast on Instagram at Little Things You Hear Together. Email me at littlethingsyouheartogether@gmail.com. Please follow, rate, and review the podcast wherever you can, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And check back next week for another episode. I can actually say this week because I know I already have it recorded. The next week will be in transit with a very special guest. So come back for that, and I'll see you later. Thank you, Kayla.
Thanks, Alex.